Good morning, everyone. I'm Emily Jashinsky, host of After Party and the Megyn Kelly Wrap-Up Show on SiriusXM Channel 111. It's Tuesday, December 16th, 2025, and this is your AM update. Dark new details revealed about the murders of Hollywood legend Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle.
This is a very active investigation, very complex investigation.
Providence, Rhode Island, releasing new images of a possible suspect in the Brown University shooting.
The defendants are all radical anti-government members of the Turtle Island Liberation Front.
A left-wing extremist group accused of plotting a New Year's Eve attack in Los Angeles. And the jockeying for the 2028 Democrat primary begins with Kamala Harris at the center of it. All that and more coming up in just a moment on your AM Update.
I've been talking a lot about Riverbend Ranch because I love their steaks. This holiday season, express your love with a very special gift of premium steaks from Riverbend Ranch. They have spectacular beef bundles that are wonderful gifts to friends and family. Their prime rib roast and holiday bundles are only available while supplies last, and they are going fast. For the last 35 years, Riverbend Ranch has been creating an elite Angus herd by using ultrasound technology to identify genetically superior cattle with a focus on flavor and tenderness. All Riverbend Ranch cattle are born and raised in the USA. They never use growth hormones or antibiotics, and the beef is processed right at the ranch in their award-winning USDA-inspected processing facility. Avoid the costly middlemen because the beef is sent directly from Riverbend Ranch to your home. This is not your average Black Angus beef. Order from riverbendranch.com. Use the promo code Megyn for $20 off your first order, and let me know what you think. That's riverbendranch.com, promo code Megyn.
New details emerging on the grisly murder of director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle Singer Reiner. The couple discovered with their throats slit and stab wounds at their Brentwood mansion on Sunday afternoon by their 28-year-old daughter, Romy. According to TMZ, Romy telling people her brother, 32-year-old Nick Reiner, was, quote, dangerous and should be considered a suspect. The LAPD saying Nick was arrested around 9:15 p.m. on Sunday night. His whereabouts from that moment and the alleged murders unclear at this time. Bail originally set at $4 million, but authorities later saying he is being held without bail. Investigators say the case will be handed to the LA County District Attorney's Office today, where charging decisions will be made. Nick reportedly struggling with addiction and behavioral issues from a young age. He is currently being held at the Twin Towers Correctional Facility, a jail with extensive mental health facilities. President Trump on Monday drawing negative feedback from even his own MAGA base after posting a critical comment about Reiner on Truth Social. Mr. Trump doubling down yesterday from the Oval.
A number of Republicans have denounced your statement on Truth Social after the murder of Rob Reiner. Do you stand by that post?
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said he knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. You know, it was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind it. I think he hurt himself in career-wise. He became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all, in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country.
Law enforcement officials in Providence, Rhode Island, releasing new images they believe show the Brown University shooting suspect. Yesterday evening, authorities releasing 3 videos and 2 images showing what appears to be a husky male wearing a dark beanie, pants, jacket, and gloves with a black COVID-era face mask. The images recorded around 2 p.m. on Saturday, just hours prior to the shooting, near the scene of the crime. Investigators in Providence seen going door to door yesterday, searching for any digital evidence that might have captured the Brown University shooting suspect. Agents also seen fanning across lawns, kicking through snow several blocks from the scene of the shooting, appearing to look for any evidence that may have been dropped leaving the scene. At a briefing yesterday, officials including Mayor Brett Smiley, Rhode Island Governor Daniel McKee, and Chief of Police Oscar Perez insisting they are searching as hard as they can to apprehend the suspect.
We're so grateful for the tireless effort of law enforcement, not just to assist with the investigation, but to help all of us feel safe in our home.
We want to make sure that all Rhode Islanders know that everything that is physically possible is being done, and partnering in with our federal, the FBI, our state law enforcement, and also the local law enforcement to bring an individual and identify and bring that person to justice.
I want to remind you that this is a very active investigation, very complex investigation, and there's no one that wants to put this individual in handcuffs than us.
As the officials ask the public to check doorbell cameras and other devices for potentially helpful digital evidence, a $50,000 reward for information leading to an arrest now active. Providence Mayor Brett Smiley continuing to assert residents are safe amid the increased police presence in the city, encouraging parents to send their children back to area schools. Attorney General Peter Neronha, on the other hand, telling CNN the suspect is still considered armed and dangerous as no firearm has been recovered. As reporters and the public grow frustrated with what appears to be a stalling investigation, President Trump defending the FBI's recent track record.
Has Kash Patel told you why it's been so difficult for the FBI to identify who the shooter is?
Well, it's always difficult. So far, we've done a very good job of doing it with Charlie, with, the various times this has happened. They've done it in pretty much record time. But you really have to ask the school a little bit more about that because, this was a school problem. They had their own guards, they had their own police, they had their own everything. But you'd have to ask that question really to the school, not to the FBI. We came in after the fact, and the FBI will do a good job, but they came in after the fact.
Meanwhile, the second victim, who was killed on Saturday, identified as 18-year-old sophomore Muhammad Aziz Umerzakov, his sisters describing their brother as, quote, gentle and extroverted, to the New York Times. A naturalized citizen hailing from Uzbekistan, Umerzakov moving with his family in 2011 to a town outside Richmond, Virginia. Umerzakov reportedly attending Brown with ambitions of becoming a neurosurgeon to help children the way he was helped, with a childhood medical condition relating to his spine. 19-year-old sophomore Ella Cook, the other deceased victim, vice president of the college Republicans, remembered at her Alabama church as a, quote, bright light in the community. Coming up, federal officials busting an alleged New Year's Eve bombing plot planned by a left-wing extremist group operating out of Los Angeles. And former Vice President Kamala Harris and California Governor Gavin Newsom, each with a 2028 twinkle in their eye.
As President Trump is settling into his new administration, one of the top Democrats in Congress aiming to undermine the Trump agenda is Senator Dick Durbin. And according to our sponsor, the Electronic Payments Coalition, Senator Durbin has a new scheme, a government takeover of your credit card. Today, Americans have thousands of choices in credit cards, but they say Senator Durbin's plan will result in less competition and less security. And that means more risk for your credit and identity. Learn more at guardyourcard.com and consider telling your senators to stop Dick Durbin's government takeover of your credit card before it's too late.
An alleged New Year's Eve bombing plot foiled by federal investigators in Los Angeles. 4 suspects, belonging to an offshoot of the extremist group Turtle Island Liberation Front, or TILF, arrested in Lucerne Valley, about 2 hours away from Los Angeles, where authorities say they were set to test explosive devices. U.S. Attorney for the Central District of California, Bill Asaley, announcing the details of the plot at a press conference yesterday morning.
The 4 defendants are Audrey Carroll, 30 years old, Zachary Aaron Page, 32, Dante Gaffield, 24, and Tina Lay, 41, each from the Los Angeles area. Each is charged with conspiracy and possession of an unregistered destructive device in violation of Title 26, United States Code Section 5861D. We intend to file additional charges in the coming weeks as we finish reviewing the evidence. The defendants are all radical anti-government members of the Turtle Island Liberation Front, which according to their own social media is an anti-capitalist, anti-government movement that calls for their associates to rise up and fight back against capitalism. One of the leaders of the organization, defendant Audrey Carroll, helped organize an even more radical faction of the group called the Order of the Black Lotus. Each of the defendants charged today was also a member of the Order of the Black Lotus. Carroll described this group to her co-conspirators as everything radical.
According to the federal complaint, Carroll, quote, provided a confidential human source an 8-page, handwritten document titled Operation Midnight Sun that described a bombing plot. The plan involving planting backpacks with improvised explosive devices to be simultaneously detonated at 5 locations targeting 2 companies, set to explode at midnight on New Year's Eve, Assaylee declining to name the companies. Carroll and Page leading the effort, recruiting others to join them, including reportedly an undercover FBI agent. Authorities showing aerial surveillance video of the suspects last Friday in the desert, appearing to prep a testing area for the explosives. The defendants, according to the complaint, were planning to target ICE agents and their vehicles with pipe bombs after the New Year's Eve attack. The suspects set to appear in court for the first time yesterday. The outcome of those appearances not yet clear. Assaylee saying a 5th suspect tied to the group was arrested in New Orleans in connection to a separate plot, that suspect allegedly threatening agents upon execution of a search warrant, leading to his apprehension. Details on that suspect are not immediately clear. Former Vice President and 2024 Democratic presidential contender Kamala Harris reportedly prepping the beginnings of a 2028 campaign as Democrat rivals go knives out against perceived frontrunner California Governor Gavin Newsom. Axios reporting party leaders and donors are worried about a Harris candidacy, despite primary polls showing her at or near the top of the pack. Ms. Harris last week announcing new dates for her book tour promoting 107 days for 2026, including stops in cities with large black voting populations, a key Dem primary voting bloc, including Detroit, Michigan, Jackson, Mississippi, Memphis, Tennessee, as well as swing state South Carolina. Over the weekend, the former VP addressing the Democrat National Committee meeting in LA, refining the typical meandering rhetoric into a sharper attack against a failing system and both parties.
And obviously, we must focus on the midterms, but Democrats, we must also have a clear vision for what comes after the midterms and then after Trump. We need to answer the question, what comes next for our party and our democracy? And in so doing, we must be honest that for so many, the American dream has become more of a myth than a reality. Whether it's the cost of food, energy, health care, transportation, or housing, America is facing an affordability crisis. A crisis that we are witnessing is fueling cynicism, fear, frustration, and a lack of confidence in our systems.
Meanwhile, more than 20 Democrat operatives telling Axios California Governor Gavin Newsom is the clear frontrunner. The Real Clear polling average showing Newsom in first at 24.6%. Harris following closely behind at 22.2%. Third place, former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg trailing at 11.2%. Those sources, some of which work for possible 2028 contenders, telling the outlet the 58-year-old governor comes with a lot of exploitable baggage. In 2007, as mayor of San Francisco, Newsom publicly confessing to a prior affair with his campaign manager's wife.
I want to make it clear that everything you've heard and read is true, and I am deeply sorry about that. I've hurt someone I care deeply about, Alex Turk, his friends and family, and that is something that I have to live with and something that I am deeply sorry for. I am also sorry that I've let the people of San Francisco down.
As governor in 2020, Newsom busted having dinner at the fancy French Laundry restaurant as he was telling Californians not to gather for the upcoming holidays amid the COVID pandemic. Newsom appearing to attempt to get ahead of his past by releasing a strategically timed memoir titled Young Man in a Hurry, a memoir of discovery, hitting bookstores in February. Here, a social media promo.
This is not the book you'd expect me to write. It's a story about the people that well, better or worse, make us who we are, made me who I am. The hopes that drive us forward, the failures that send us reeling, and the immense burden of grief and regret. Nobody's family is easy. Nobody's story is tidy, and I'm no different. A lot of people look at me, the stark white shirt, the blue suit, and the gelled hair, and they think, oh, I know this guy. I know this guy better than I'd ever want to know him. I get it. This is a story of a kid who always felt like he wasn't quite enough. This is a truly vulnerable book. It was incredibly hard, even painful to write. It's a story about living between two worlds, one of wealth and privilege and the other of more modest upbringing, the outsider on the inside, the interloper who learned to feel comfortable in many rooms. It's a story of the personas we create to face the world around us, the story of self-doubt and, yes, ambition.
Presidential ambition, that is. The governor telling reporters last week that the memoir may be interpreted as a campaign strategy. Quote, "Look, I'm not an idiot. Everyone's going to see it through a cynical set of eyes. I mean, it's a politician writing a book. Let the 2028 games begin." That'll do it for your AM Update. I'm Emily Jashinsky, host of After Party. Catch The Megyn Kelly Show live on SiriusXM's The Megyn Kelly Channel 111 at noon East on youtube.com/Megyn Kelly and all podcast platforms.
I've been telling you, as this, I don't know if you want to call it a feud or what, between Candace Owens and Erica Kirk has been heating up, that I would have something to say on it in the coming days, and I do. It's been going on now for a while where Candace, I had that exchange with Ben Shapiro out on the tour where he said she'd accused Erica of orchestrating Charlie's murder. And I was taken aback. I had not heard that. And then in the interim, between that day and the next, I had my staff go research exactly what she had said. And then somebody just happened to ask me a question about it. Truly was not, that was totally organic. That was not a plant by me at all, but somebody asked me about it the very next night. And I actually told them, because I'd been planning on saying something on the show since Ben had made the accusation. And if it was not true, I did not want to be having something that heavy hanging out there. Someone asked about it and I said, that's actually not true. And at that time, it was not true. Candace had not accused Erica of orchestrating Charlie's murder. And I've gotten a lot of grief for saying that, but I was correct. We are relentlessly factual here in this program, and she had not done that at the time. As I pointed out at the time, she had impugned Turning Point. And I realize Erica is CEO, but she wasn't until after Charlie died. So, saying the guys at Turning Point had done something prior to Charlie's death is not the same as saying Erica Kirk. Okay. I'm sorry. It may seem to you like a distinction without a difference, but we really do care about facts, being precise here on the program. We don't always get it right, but that's a big one to get wrong. Well, since then, Candace has been more focused on Erica Kirk. And I think that's because Erica Kirk went on a media tour and started clearly speaking out about Candace. And so, it turned into a rather explosive situation last week where Erica went on with Harris Faulkner on Fox News and said very clearly she wants these, quote, conspiracy theories to stop, especially about Turning Point USA, which she called her Turning Point family. And she was clearly upset. We played the soundbite for you. She was clearly, she's had it. And then she went on with Barry Weiss on CBS for a town hall. They had aired the preview, saw it, and then the actual exchange aired on Saturday night with Barry, where Erica told Candace to just stop. Okay, she just said, "I want you to stop." Actually, we'll play that. Let's play the soundbite here.
The podcaster Candace Owens, okay? At one time, a friend of Charlie's, at one time an employee of Turning Point. She has been one of the main peddlers of these conspiracies, and she is making a huge amount of money on it. She is building her business off of these lies. What do you want to say to her and the other people that are putting these lies out into the world right now?
Stop. That's it. That's all I have to say. Stop.
And that was a clear play on words, if you will, because Candace, when she had started down the Turning Point narrative, had said, only my husband or Erica Kirk can tell me to stop this. And, like one word from Erica will stop this. And Erica didn't say anything about this. She hasn't really been commenting on podcasts and so on. But she did, as you saw in that clip, say stop. And it was not taken as the command to stop. I think Candace felt she was saying stop lying, and Candace, her defense was she's not lying. She's actually trying to do an investigation into the true killer of Charlie Kirk. I've said before, and I will say again, I think they have the true killer of Charlie Kirk. His name is Tyler Robinson. He's in custody, and I have every reason to believe that he committed this murder. Many people disagree with me. Many people believe there's more to this story, that we're being lied to by our FBI, that there are too many inconsistencies around the official story, and those people are more than entitled to that belief. I don't share it. That's fine. This is America. You can feel differently about these things. But with things ratcheting up between Erica and Candace last week, many people had been asking me, why aren't you saying anything? Obviously, I love Erica Kirk. I do. I love her. And I feel, as I said on the tour, protective of her because she's in an extremely vulnerable state right now. Yes, she's taken on the CEO position of Turning Point. And, it's a fair question to ask whether that's a job she can do right now while she's at the height of her grieving. I take no position on that. I think she's doing fine. But I also think it's fair. You can ask that. So I don't like to see her get attacked at all. And I wish that would stop. And to be honest, I wish Candace wouldn't be pursuing the Turning Point narrative at all. Never mind Erica. Though, again, she hasn't graduated to blaming Erica for Charlie's murder. She's criticizing her and the media tour. And that is fair game. That piece of it is fair game. So in any event, Candace knows I disagree with her on this. Petty internet people want to turn that into a cat fight between Candace and yours truly, which will fail. She and I actually have only gotten closer over the past couple of months as people try to make me attack her. So fuck off, okay? I have no obligation to you to hate the people you hate or try to bring down the people you want brought down. I'm sorry, but if that's what you want from me, you do need to move on. It's not going to happen. And I've learned a lot behind the scenes from Candace about some of the things she's been put through from people I used to respect. I also, though, adore and love Erica, and I want this to stop. I do, of course. None of this is a mystery to Erica or to Candace. And a couple of weeks ago, Erica called me, and it's relevant to the meeting they just had. Okay, so I'm going to get into this. Those two had a sit-down meeting yesterday for 4.5 hours, Erica and Candace, alone. Well, I think they had two other people with them, but those were the two principals. And they met face-to-face in Nashville yesterday. No recording devices, nothing, just the two of them. And again, each had a supporter, someone from their own respective teams. I'll let them disclose the specifics of that. But they made a lot of progress, according to them. And this is what they tweeted out yesterday after the meeting. Candace said, Erica and I had an extremely productive 4.5-hour meeting that I think we both feel should have taken place a lot earlier than it did. We agreed much more than I had anticipated. Of course, we also disagreed on various points and people as well. Most importantly, we were able to share intel and clarify intent. I will, of course, have a full rundown for you all tomorrow as I am currently exhausted, but I wanted to quickly let you guys know that absolutely nothing was held back, and the immediate result was that tensions were thawed. That's very good. Erica posted something 10 minutes later, writing, Had a very productive conversation with Candace Owens. More to come from both of us. Looking forward to AmFest this week. That's Turning Point's biggest event of the year. It happens this weekend, later this week into the weekend. Time to get back to work. So I will let Erica and the Turning Point crew and Candace Owens fill you in on what happened at that meeting and so on. I just wanted to note, because many of my viewers have been wondering why I haven't said anything, given my previous statements about Erica. And the reason is that I have been working behind the scenes to try to foster a détente between them. Erica called me weeks ago and asked me if I would be part of this sit down with them, which originally they had contemplated might be for consumption by the public, might air in some way, shape, or form, and asked if I would facilitate that meeting between the two of them. And I said yes immediately. Of course I would. I reached out to Candace. She said, absolutely. I'm thrilled it's you. I'm in. And the two of them took it from there, trying to negotiate the specifics of what they'd both be comfortable with, where, when, etc. And eventually it changed after they hit some roadblocks. Again, that's for someone else to tell you about if they so choose. Not having anything to do with yours truly, but hit some roadblocks in scheduling and the specifics that led them to just say, let's do this privately, not on camera, not in a live stream, just us. And I thought that was a great idea, and I fully support it, and I have been in touch with both of them repeatedly. Okay, so that's what I've been doing. And I understand my core audience knows who I am and would never have assumed the worst about me, that I was just abandoning Erica or getting ready to pounce on Candace and, insert myself into this on one side. I'm not getting ready to do that, and I don't want that. I don't think that's God's role for me here. I really fully believe God's role for me here is to possibly play a role in getting this whole thing to a better place. I think I might be in a position to help construct that. Maybe not. But sitting here in my studio in Connecticut, just slinging mud at one side or the other, or tearing people down, or, expressing my disgust, my outrage, that is pointless here. My goal and my job here, I think, is to try to understand, yes, where Candace is coming from on this. I know you're not supposed to say it. You're supposed to just immediately condemn her. But I love the Turning Point guys, and I don't believe for 1 second any of them had anything to do with Charlie's murder. Not for 1 second do I believe that. So people who care about Candace and love Erica have been in a tough position as this whole thing has escalated, and care about Turning Point, which I deeply do, and I will make sure that their legacy is not destroyed, and I will do everything within my power to help them thrive, including supporting my own kids in forming a Turning Point chapter and going out to AmFest and helping headline that event and encouraging everyone I know within the conservative movement to go and support them and to donate. So that's where I am. But that doesn't mean I need to sling mud at somebody who sees it differently than I do. And it especially doesn't mean I should remove myself from a position that I think few hold, where I might be able to actually help this thing go away if I can, or at least get to a better place. All right, just at least get to a better place, not just for them. I don't think this is good for anybody's mental health, but for America, for our country, and definitely for the conservative movement. There are so many really important battles that we're going to have to fight together against the radical left. And if there's any way that strain of argument and contention can be dissipated, can be managed to a place where it's not quite as upsetting, awful, tough on a lot of people I love, then I would like to be that person if I can. This isn't about me. It's totally not about me. It's about those two, and I commend both of them. I mean, honestly, that took a lot of guts for both of them. Erica is grieving. Erica was away all week on the road promoting Charlie's book. She just did, I know people have given her blowback on the press tour. She committed to the stops that Charlie committed to. She is truly trying to fulfill Charlie's legacy and promise on his book. It's not easy for her. People say, oh, she's loving it. She's not loving it. She'd rather be home with her babies because she is now a single mother. She's got a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old who need her back at home. Not to mention Turning Point. And it took guts for Candace to go too. Let's face it. You know, she's been ripping on Turning Point, an organization that Charlie built, that Erica's running mercilessly for weeks now. And she'd been coming under fire for not accepting the invite of the Turning Point guys to join their live stream, which was supposed to take place yesterday, responding to her claims. And then, you know, the big kahuna, the CEO, Erica Kirk herself, and Charlie's widow, she's got a couple of roles in this whole story, reaches out to her and says, I will come sit with you directly. And so, you know, she could have run from that. She could have found 10,000 excuses not to do it. Now I'm just happy to sit here on my set and hurl allegations without saying them to your face. She didn't. They sat for 4+ hours yesterday. So I'll let them take it from here. But I wanted to tell you what my role in it has been. And I'll just say this final thing. To the hateful people whom I used to call friends, who have been all over the internet trying to shame me and say that no one should ever listen to this program again because I haven't spoken out on the Erica-Candace conflict. I don't have any pearls of wisdom other than go fuck yourselves. Go fuck yourselves. You have no fucking clue what's going on. You don't know what I do behind the scenes. And your world is so myopically online. You fail to understand there are real humans involved here. And actually being able to touch grass and have relationships with them, which is something I'm doing, could prove to actually benefit all involved. Maybe it won't. Maybe it won't at all. But it's at least got a shot. I'm not sure your Twitter shame game has gotten anything of value done. There are a lot of politicians that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas, but Birch Gold thinks, as a smart planner, you deserve silver. That's why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold will send you an ounce of silver, which is up over 60% this year. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. That's why you should consider Birch Gold. With the rate cuts from the Fed in 2026, the dollar could be worth less. And what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Consider letting Birch Gold Group help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And for every $5,000 you buy, you will get an ounce of silver for you or your kids. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text MK to 989898 because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. Have you guys read this thing yet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
OMG. So just for the listening audience, and we'll go through it and we'll talk about all the juicy details. It's extraordinary. It was so revealing on so many fronts. I texted my team today saying, is she quitting? Is Susie Wiles quitting? Like, this seems like the kind of thing you do knowing that your days were numbered and you're kind of going to burn some bridges on the way out and you don't really give an F. But she's not quitting. She tweeted an attack on the Vanity Fair article today saying we're mission focused. We're not going to pay attention to this and that kind. But like, she talked to this guy for over a year, multiple times, double digits, I think. And there's so much. How many, Rob? 11 times, to the point where like now people's jaws are slack online wondering, does she hate everyone in the administration or does she just not understand Vanity Fair? Many people I've talked to within the conservative circles think that she must have been saying these things thinking they were off the record. Now she's trying to tell the New York Times that she didn't say at least some of them, and which has forced the reporter, Chris Whipple of Vanity Fair, to provide the tape recording pieces to the New York Times showing she did say the things. So that's not the move. This guy is a respected reporter. though he works for a leftist publication, she's producing the receipts, the recordings already. So don't play that game. If you said it, just stand by it. And I'll just give you what I think is the biggest. This is what I think is the biggest problem in it. All the rest is just insults, like saying J.D. Vance is a conspiracy theorist and has been for 10 years. Saying his conversion to MAGA and being pro-Trump was sheerly political, which she contrasted with Marco Rubio's evolution, which she credits as being sincere, right? Like, it's not great. He's the vice president. He's almost certainly going to be the Republican nominee next time around. And you've got Susie Wiles saying he's a conspiracy theorist. But I'll tell you the one that's probably the most consequential in real terms. And that is on page 18 of the 35-page article, at least the way it printed for me. And when she was talking about the Letitia James indictment, and he's pressing her on whether this is all retribution. She is saying, okay, he doesn't like some of these people, et cetera. And then she says, the question is, what about Letitia James and her mortgage fraud? Answer, well, that might be the one retribution, quoting Susie Wiles. That is utterly unhelpful. And if they ever manage to re-indict Tish James with a grand jury that will actually do its job because she does deserve to be re-indicted, it will be promptly dismissed now with that quote because she speaks for the president. And that is effectively the president on record saying this is no more than political retribution, which as a practical matter will now doom the Letitia James criminal case. Again, it's already on life support, given the fact that they can't get a grand jury to re-indict now that it's been thrown out because it didn't have a prosecutor on it who was a legitimate U.S. attorney, according to the courts. But that statement actually will have consequences. The rest is political chaos. And that's where you guys come in. What's your favorite thought or admission or takeaway on this thing?
Well, Megyn, first of all, I think this took the political world by storm this morning, in large part because Susie Wiles is known for the discipline, and this White House has been known for their incredible discipline and their lack of interest in entertaining the sort of left-wing media narrative. And so anything that showed up in that space was going to be interesting, to say the least. But from my perspective, I always do this when I'm dealing with like a New York Times or Vanity Fair or whatever. I look at something that they pulled out for a pull quote and they try to throw it in a subhead. And in this case, there was a reference to Donald Trump having the personality of an alcoholic, quote unquote. And I looked at that and I'm like, all right, before I read this article, I'm going to go down and I'm going to try to find the context that is printed in this to see if this could make, because that's not something just out of context that somebody like Susie Wiles would ever say. Mm-hmm. And then you go down and you find out that she was talking about her history of dealing with men, her father, people with alcoholism, functional.
Who was Pat Summerall of the NFL.
Exactly. Functional alcoholism, as she calls it, where she says that basically their personality is their personality. It's just much more embellished than your average person. And so Donald Trump has a much more embellished personality. And that was the context of it. It had nothing to do with alcoholism or personality.
Well, and then she actually goes on to say he operates with a view that there's nothing he can't do. Nothing. Zero. Nothing. Right. Which also adds to it. So it's like trying to be a compliment. Yeah. But the pull quote is not phrased as a compliment.
So, but right there then, you have the framework for the rest of the piece, which is Bingo. Anything you can say and do or quote is going to be framed in the worst possible way. I saw another thing about J.D. Vance making a joke with the photographer about like, I'll pay you $100 if I look better than everybody else in here, $1,000 if it's Marco. Yeah, that's J.D. That's funny. And like leftists don't understand our sense of humor apparently, or dude talk.
No, and they reported that's evidence of the tension, the tension amongst the cabinet. Like, what is an obvious joke, as is this piece.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, that's the framework that I'm working in. Now, it's 35 pages or whatever. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. And you can talk a lot about whether there was wisdom in sitting down 11 times with a reporter who's capable of doing something like this or not. But I think that most of it in there, if read through the eyes of the people who know them, know the levity. They know the context of the things that are being said. Johnny, I don't know. You work with these people all the time. Like this seems like it's sort of par for the course.
Yeah, and I also think that this is the most transparent administration that we have ever had in our lifetimes. And they're not afraid of saying what it is they're doing, what it is they're thinking, because they're making such great progress. And I think that came through in the story. And there was a piece of news that they didn't push out on Twitter that caught my attention. It's when she was talking about his building of this great room off of the East Wing, and she said that that's not where it stops. And so much of the left is just losing their minds over the president, our president, who is a developer, improving the White House in a way that every administration behind him will benefit from. And as Michael Duncan points out, it's the most magnanimous thing he's ever done, because he will never get the benefit of this great construction project. But like, if you
just to interject, Ashbrook, here's the quote. She says, was Wiles saying that Trump was planning more as yet undisclosed White House renovations? Quote, I'm not telling. That's pretty much all that's in there.
Well, but I love
people
it.
In a meltdown.
I love it. It's fantastic, because if you're going to have a developer who happens to be one of the best developers in the history of mankind in the White House, you might as well walk away with something even bigger and better than you had before. I mean, think if John McEnroe was the president of the United States, the tennis court would look awfully good when he was done. Okay, but I mean, like, if you're going to have a developer in the White House, I'd hope he would improve it.
And there's
that skill set.
There's that quote that societies flourish when older men plant trees whose shade they will never sit under. And that's the case with all of this that's being done at the White House. He'll never actually get to enjoy the benefits of having a secure area to hold White House events. Whoever succeeds him will.
Yeah.
There are a lot of politicians that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas, but Birch Gold thinks, as a smart planner, you deserve silver. That's why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold will send you an ounce of silver, which is up over 60% this year. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. That's why you should consider Birch Gold. With the rate cuts from the Fed in 2026, the dollar could be worth less. And what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Consider letting Birch Gold Group help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And for every $5,000 you buy, you will get an ounce of silver for you or your kids. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text MK to 989898 because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Message and data rates may apply. Let me tell you, I was at an event at the vice president's residence over the weekend, a Christmas celebration, and we had to go through a tent, and it was actually quite nice. But I think a ballroom would have been even better. And we'll just do a quick word on that, because I wanted to tell you, we saw a lot of the administration figures. Doug and I went, and
can I say one thing real quick?
Had a great night in D.C.
JD, my invite was lost in the mail. Thanks for it, though.
Oh,
okay.
It's a sore subject over here.
Sorry, guys. But I will say this. There are a lot of people there, a lot of big names there, a lot of big donors there too. And J.D. Vance is just in a class of one.
Yep.
I mean, he is just so at ease among the crowd. Like, glad-handing, but also has the Bill Clinton thing that to make you feel like you're the only one who matters to him when he sees you. Like, actually he's looking in your eyes and listening to what you're saying and not looking over your shoulder, and like with a follow-up. So it's not like he's just going to make one comment and move on. I'm not even talking about myself. This is me watching him deal with others. He was also like that with my husband, Doug, and me. But like, he is just so easy with other people, so affable, so clever, naturally clever and funny. He's got it. He's got the it factor. It's one of the many reasons why we call him 48. And I just think, even in this piece, they have a quote from Marco saying, hold on, I've got it. Quote, this guy, Chris Whipple, writes, will Rubio challenge Vance for the top spot on the 2028 GOP presidential ticket? His answer, Rubio's, if J.D. Vance runs for president, he's going to be our nominee, and I will be one of the first people to support him.
Yeah, it's pretty definitive.
I think Marco's incredibly talented too, but he sees what I saw.
Yeah. Also, that's like the news. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, we go.
That's the breaking story, and then everyone else is just talking about this random nonsense, and you have it right there. The question that everyone has been discussing: for years and will be discussing for years, and you actually have a definitive answer to it right there. And then further about JD, every time we have spent time with him, every time I have seen him, there is something to be said about an individual, because for the longest time, Americans thought that when we elect a politician, you want someone who went to Harvard and they're fourth generation Harvard and they're all credentialed. There's something to be said about an individual who has survived conditions that so many Americans have struggled and continue to struggle through. And there's a level of realism that they bring, an understanding that they bring, where it's not like, oh, I sat through a sociology class which described the conditions that you may have seen in the Rust. This is someone who understands it because it's their life story.
But I thought when you were talking about suffering under the conditions, you were talking about Yale. I thought that's where you were going. No, it's the poverty. Sorry, I got it. I'm back.
Wait, I want to get to a couple of the other admissions, though, before we really move on from it, because there is a lot that's going to come back. First of all, a couple of words on this reporter. He writes, Charlie Kirk's assassination in September turbocharged Trump's campaign of revenge and retribution. It did?
Well, what
do you mean? Trump was doing the lawfare prior to that. Critics have compared this moment to a Reichstag fire, a modern version of Hitler's exploitation of the torching of Berlin's parliament. That Trump is using Charlie's assassination in the way Hitler used the Reichstag fire. This is unbelievable. This guy's really showing us his cards, right? So I'll give you a couple more. We talked about how he quotes her saying Trump's got sort of an alcoholic's personality. He also includes the detail that back in 2016, Trump berated her in front of a gaggle of cronies. Wiles told him, quote, "It was a horrific hour plus at midnight, and I don't think I've seen him that angry since. He was ranting and raving, and I didn't know whether to argue back or whether to be stoic. What I really wanted to do was cry." And then she kind of stood him down. Like, okay, again, I'm sure these aren't like her favorite details to read in print. Mm-hmm. It is in here that she worked for DeSantis and got him elected as governor in 2018, and then he turned on her, denouncing Wiles publicly and bad-mouthing her privately. To this day, Wiles doesn't know what triggered the governor's vendetta. Quote, "I think he thought I was getting too much attention," which is ironic. I don't ever seek attention, which is true of her. Right. But I mean, 11 interviews with Vanity Fair, kind of cuts against the narrative. By the way, I do know she can't stand Ron DeSantis. Cannot stand. Whatever he did to her burned a serious bridge. And he royally effed that up. She would be a much better a friend than foe to have. Okay, keeping going. Okay, here's more evidence of Chris Whipple's bias and, I'm sorry, but like failure to commit to facts. He's talking about the January 6th riot. The January 6th, 2021 assault on the Capitol, in which 9 people ultimately died.
Ultimately is doing a lot of work in that sentence.
So much work, John. What is that? That is so misleading.
There's definitely a lot of work being done, and that word and plenty of other descriptions, and like the one that you read about the Reichstag fire. I mean, get out of here.
I mean, just weaving Nazi propaganda in there, right? I mean, why not?
Yeah, a trans-loving furry murders Charlie Kirk, and that is the Reichstag fire.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
It's amazing the way that their head works. Right. It's incredible.
Now, here's a couple more. Let's keep going. I got more for you. She's writing about Elon. Wiles described Musk as something akin to a jacked up Nosferatu, which is like a vampire, right? Like that's like a Dracula. The challenge with Elon is keeping up with him, she told me. He's an avowed ketamine user, and he sleeps in a sleeping bag in the executive office building in the daytime, and he's an odd duck, as I think geniuses are. It's not helpful, but he is his own person. Then she goes on to say that she was shocked when he eviscerated USAID. There's a long section on this. Not the way I would do it, she says. Wiles says she called Musk on the carpet. You can't just lock people out of their offices, she recalls telling him. We called up Marco and said, you've got to be in charge of USAID. And then she says, but no rational person could think the USAID process was a good one. Nobody. Now she's denying to the New York Times that she said he's an avowed ketamine user. That's the line in response to which the reporter played the audio for the New York Times. So she's ripping on Elon and then kind of denying it. Okay, then I told you what she said about Tish James, but here's a couple of other more consequential pieces. Okay, she rips on Pam Bondi, and I'm just going to be honest. She speaks for us all. She says, I think she completely whiffed on appreciating that was the very targeted group that cared about this. She's talking about the social media influencers who she invited to the White House only to embarrass them with those binders full of nothing. She completely whiffed on appreciating that was the very targeted group that cared about this. First, she gave them binders full of nothingness. And then she said that the witness list or the client list was on her desk. There is no client list, and it sure as hell was not on her desk. Then she goes on about Epstein to correct Trump. Trump has claimed, writes the author, without evidence that Bill Clinton visited Epstein's infamous private island, Little St. James, supposedly 28 times. Quote, to Susie Wiles, quote, being quoted. There is no evidence those visits happened. Quote, the president was wrong about that. And then here's the part about J.D. Vance. The people that really appreciated what a big deal this is are Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, she said, because they lived in that world. And the vice president, who's been a conspiracy theorist for a decade. And we go from there. Okay, I mean, like, so she's called J.D. Vance a conspiracy theorist.
I already like J.D. She doesn't need to convince me, man.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. Can you imagine being either a Brown student or the parent of a Brown student right now and hearing that presser last night after you were told that they had a person of interest in custody, that they had lifted the shelter in place, and you've been walking around, you'd been thinking they had, and only to find out, it's fine. And then that ridiculous mayor doubled down on his inanity at a press conference just before we came to air, like an hour before. Watch this.
Explain this notion that appears to be in conflict. There's a killer on the loose and a manhunt underway. So how can that be the case when you say why are you confident there is no threat to public safety?
The call came in for the shooting at 4:05 p.m. on Saturday. It's Monday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, and there has not been a single credible or specific threat that we've received since that time. And so
you're an idiot.
Just because of those facts, that's why we believe it is safe and appropriate for residents in Providence to be sending their kids to school today and to be out in the community. There has been no follow-up threat.
That's outrageous. I would never send my kid to school if we lived in Providence today. Not a chance. Moreover, we'd have every door and window locked. There's a killer on the loose who's killing young kids, young people, 19, 20, and has absolutely no concern for human life. Why? This is their mayor. Mm-hmm. This is politics, Emily.
Well, yeah, I saw the exact same thing you did in that, which was the clear, cynical political motivation to try to pretend that a mess didn't happen rather than cleaning it up. And actually, the politics of that are horrible because it's going to be seared into everybody's memory now. This is the guy who didn't say the buck stops with me. This was a mistake. It's the guy who tried to pretend like everything was fine. And Megyn, I think about the Boston bombing manhunt. Obviously not apples to apples here, but that was a very dangerous situation when you have people who are desperate to evade justice and capture. They end up, in some cases, doing very dangerous, desperate things. So let alone another reason why you should be sheltering in place if you're in Providence, Rhode Island right now, because who knows if someone's trying to, for example, hide under a boat and gets into a shootout with law enforcement. These things are all well within the realm of possibility.
Like with the Boston Marathon bomber.
Exactly. Yep.
Yes. Well, and honestly, it's like, who knows if this person has any means? They had means enough to buy a gun. They were smart enough to get on this campus and to go right to this. I mean, because there are no Saturday classes typically. That's not really a day of the week where the kids are going to classes. But he knew that there was this exam review course happening inside this one building and inside this one classroom. And he happened to choose the one building that doesn't have any cameras. So all of that suggests he's no dummy. He figured a few things out and he's gotten away with it so far. Who the hell knows where he is, Emily? who the hell knows where he is. So if he had means, if he had a car, if he could get on a bus, we have no idea what he looks like. There's no profile whatsoever. So there's no, picture of him at the Greyhound or the Amtrak or American and Delta and United. No idea. Could be out of the country by now. Could easily be out of the country by now if he had planned ahead, or could be on the way to another school, to another campus. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't mean to unnecessarily scare people, but the only proper tone right now is deadly serious, cautionary, warning, and you don't want to create a panic, but you also don't want to ignore the threat, which is what that mayor is doing. I don't know. Let's move on because we could spend all day bashing him. I do want to show this. It's the terrified Brown students cowering in a university library as they could hear shots outside. Now, this winds up being the police, but these poor students don't know that at this point.
Hands, hands, hands! Stand up, hands! Hands! Robbers, please! Everybody's hands! Hands, 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 hands! Hands, hands, hands! Everybody get your hands, 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 hands! Hands, hands! Just keep your hands up for us. Obviously, there's something going on. We're here to help you. Just listen to what we have to say, okay? All right, breathe. Anybody hurt? No? All right, just listen to our commands. We will get you out of here safely. Is this it? Is this the group?
Guys, if you have your bags, your phones, go grab it now. Quickly.
Go, quick, go.
In orderly, fast. Let's go.
All the kids have their hands up.
Good job.
They're all complying, of course. These poor kids.
Hurry up.
That is just heartbreaking. It's like we mock Brown University a lot because it's so far left. It's so progressive. But it's like, these poor kids, you have to be very smart to get into Brown University. It is Ivy or very connected. But you do, in general, you have to be an extraordinary student, truly, to get into there. And those kids just are trying to learn. Left, right, who gives a shit? They're just trying to learn, trying to get an education, trying to make it ahead in this world just like everyone else. Try to get a first good job, try to get a home, try to make it in an economy that is really not set up for success for young people. And this is the shit they have to deal with. For the listening audience, they were hiding behind... They were in the library, and you picture the stacks of books that only go up to like maybe 5 or 6 feet tall, and they're open at each end. So it's not like, it doesn't really block you from an active shooter. He would just have to turn the corner of the little bookcase, and they're all cowering down there, hearing shots go on, shots. And then you finally hear the police, and I'm sure there was a huge sigh of relief as they lifted their arms and complied. But you can't help but think of the terror they must have been in.
Relief, and also probably for some of them still fear, because what if someone is pretending to be the police, also not outside of the realm of possibility in a situation like that. And I'm 32. I was in elementary school when Columbine happened, and I think people, especially younger than me, but everyone who is like 30 and under, just you ended up having to do those drills in school since you're like 5 years old, active shooter drills, and this is every student's worst nightmare. These kids were just trying to get through finals, and then the scene that they have seen play out on their smartphones from different cases, Parkland, over and over the years as they've been in school, it visits them like a couple of weeks before Christmas, and it's happening to them in real life. So even though that was the police and they were hearing shots from the police, those kids are now traumatized. That will stay with a lot of them for a long, long time. That is literally the worst nightmare.
Oh. And there was at least one, possibly two students who had been at Parkland at that shooting in Florida as high schoolers, or would have had to be middle schoolers now. I'm trying to do my math. That happened in 2018, and now so it's 7 years ago. So they must have been more junior, or maybe they took gap years, and then because at least one was saying that they'd been at the high school when the shooting had taken place, and now again. I mean, I don't even know how you'd handle going in public after that, because we're all banking on it being a better chance of getting struck by lightning than finding yourself in one of these shooting situations. But they're happening so frequently that's starting to feel less comforting. And I use that term comfort, with a huge grain of salt. We're seeing our fellow Americans get shot down in the prime of their lives. No one wants this. No one fucking wants this. I mean, most people don't want this. I don't know what the answer is. I was thinking for these students, in this case, do we have to get to the point when they go to school, whatever school it is, college on down, the doors lock. The class starts at 9. You have a 5-minute grace period, say, and then that door locks. That's it. It will not be reopened. If you don't get there on time, you miss the class that day. It's locked. So, I mean, that would be another layer. That's the one thing I've learned in dealing with lots of security over the course of my, professional life, and plenty recently. Layers between you and potential danger is what it's all about. Just to give law enforcement the time to get to you. And on these college campuses, there aren't enough.
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think I've been thinking a lot about this lately because, in the Charlie case, we've been rightfully so focused on Charlie and his family. And then I think, there were thousands of kids that day who had a bullet whiz past them and they saw the carnage and the panic. And that's thousands of kids who just at that one school are now dealing with this panic and probably PTSD in a lot of their cases. And you think about Brown, you get an active shooter alert on your phone, which I assume went out in the case of Brown. It happens at schools. There was a mistaken one that was sent out when I was in college. It is absolutely terrifying. I mean, again, this is like nightmare fuel. It is everybody's worst case scenario when you're a teenager and you're in college. And so to get that in and of itself is terrifying. And just thinking a little bit also about the Australia story you introduced, Megyn. In that case, I know we're going to talk about it, but they have really strict gun laws in Australia. Some of these shootings happen in places where there are really strict gun laws. College campuses are certainly those types of places. There's just evil. I mean, there's just unimaginable evil. And this period of high-tech modernity seems to be bringing out more and more of it in more and more dangerous ways. And to some extent, there's nothing you'll ever be able to do to protect yourself from the evil.
There are two things we can do. There are at least two things we can do. And I don't know how I feel about having all kids armed on college campuses. Right. That seems extreme to me. But people are getting murdered on college campuses at an alarming rate. They are. Mm-hmm. The attempted murders and murders happening at the hands. This is when these young men are having their psychotic breaks. Mm-hmm. And it does tend to happen. Ask any shrink between basically 18 and 26. And I haven't looked it up. I'll bet you the endowment for Brown University is in the hundreds of millions of dollars. For sure, it's going to be in the tens of millions. Is it really so hard for them to beef up their security? Is it so hard for them to have at Brown University, which actually isn't even that huge? I mean, it's very exclusive, so it's not that huge. To have a guard at every door, an armed guard at every building, an armed guard at every building. Is it so hard, including on Saturday? If the students are there, you're there with your loaded gun. And that way, at least, when you hear shots fired, you can minimize the carnage. Or as a deterrent. It serves as a deterrent. Can't they spend some of their damn millions on that? That's one thing. And I've said it after every school shooting for a long time since I figured out it was necessary. We need an institution, a lockup for people who are potential school shooters, and their family and friends know who they are in most of the cases. You're going to tell me that guy who shot up this Ascension school in Minneapolis was not known by his family to be a seriously dangerous young man?
Uvalde, Parkland.
It has to be a place.
It happens all the time.
Yes. Mm-hmm. The Sandy Hook. Mm-hmm. It has to be a place to which a loving mother would voluntarily commit her son. It's always a son. Stop. It is. One in New Orleans Nashville was a woman. But they can go too. I'm not trying to defend women, but I'm just saying, let's be honest about what the profile of these shooters is. So that it's not going to get them all. It's not even going to get most of them, to be honest, because a lot of them don't show signs. But it's going to get a fair amount, and it's going to save lives. And look, same thing for us. I'm sorry for the Ukrainians, but that $60 billion would have more than covered such a facility for the rest of your lifetime. Not even just my lifetime, your lifetime as well. I mean, easily. And think of the number of American lives that could have been spared if we had that kind of a lockup. It's a lockup, It's a prison-esque facility, but it's a mental health facility where, yes, your child is going to be locked up in a room, and we'll have group time just like prisoners do, and we'll have mental health caregivers to medicate and look after them. And it's honestly as much for their sake as it is for ours. I've spoken to these mothers. They want these kids taken. They do not want to be responsible. They can't handle them any more than the prison system can. There are a lot of politicians that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas, but Birch Gold thinks, as a smart planner, you deserve silver. That's why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold will send you an ounce of silver, which is up over 60% this year. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. That's why you should consider Birch Gold. With the rate cuts from the Fed in 2026, the dollar could be worth less. And what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Consider letting Birch Gold Group help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And for every $5,000 you buy, you will get an ounce of silver for you or your kids. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text MK to 989898 because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. This shocking crime, this is an American icon. I mean, you're not going to find people much more famous than Rob Reiner, much more accomplished than Rob Reiner, much more wealthy than Rob Reiner, living in one of the most exclusive suburbs in America, Brentwood, which is, of course, where O.J. Simpson killed Nicole Brown Simpson. Brentwood is a beautiful suburb of L.A., and he and his wife, according to reports, had their throats slit and also suffered multiple additional stab wounds, which, of course, suggests crime of passion. It's not a robber. A robber doesn't slit your throat. A robber doesn't kill you, by the way. That's like TV shit that people just use to excuse their murder. It was a robber. No, burglars burgle and get the hell out. And if they meet the homeowner, they run. These are generalizations. So this was, according to the authorities now, the couple's son. They met while they were filming When Harry Met Sally. She was a well-known photographer. People are pointing out she shot the cover of Art of the Deal, Trump's book, of Donald Trump. And she worked on When Harry Met Sally, which Rob Reiner directed. A great movie, by the way, a great movie. And by the way, so another example, like Billy Crystal starred, Meg Ryan too. Billy Crystal's definitely leftist. So is obviously Rob Reiner, he was. That wasn't in When Harry Met Sally. They didn't inject their politics into their movie making like they do with everything today. You know, there was a golden era where no matter what your politics, your movie wouldn't reflect it. You just told a great story. And When Harry Met Sally was a great story. We actually we pulled a clip of it. I'll show it just to honor Rob Reiner because it's one of the great films that he made, so many to choose from. Princess Bride, another one. This is Spinal Tap, another one. Misery with Kathy Bates and James Caan, another one. A Few Good Men, my God, like one of the greatest films in American history. But here's one I asked the team for from When Harry Met Sally. It always makes me laugh when they were playing Pictionary with their friends.
It's a monkey. It's a monkey. A monkey see, monkey do. It's an ape, going ape. It's a baby. Planet of the Apes.
Planet of the Apes? You just said it's a baby. How about Planet of the Dopes?
It doesn't look like a baby.
Look at that big mouth. Mick Jagger is a baby.
Baby ape. Baby ape.
Stop with the apes, would you please?
Baby's breath.
Baby. Rosemary's baby's mouth.
Baby.
Won't you come home, Bill Baby?
Baby, kiss the baby.
Melancholy baby's mouth.
Baby fish mouth.
Ethel
Baby
Merman.
fish mouth.
15 seconds. A big baby mouth.
Baby boom.
Baby.
Draw something resembling anything.
Baby.
Crying baby.
Baby spitting up. Exorcist baby.
Baby. Yes, sir, that's my baby.
No, sir. Don't mean maybe. That's it. Time's up.
Baby talk. Baby talk? What's that? That's not a saying.
Oh, but baby fish mouth is sweeping the nation. I hear them talking.
So funny and such a great film. And Rob Reiner was behind it. He directed it, and that's where he and his wife Michelle met. 10-year age difference between them, and went on to have 3 kids. He had one adopted daughter as well from his first marriage to Penny Marshall. also known as Laverne, from Laverne and Shirley. And so he had 4 kids, and he had 2 boys with Michelle and a girl. The girl was Romy. The boys were, I think, Jay and Nick. And Nick had serious problems. From the sound of it, his whole life. The reports are that, I think it was Romy. They said his daughter, though, to be honest, it could be the daughter from the first marriage, but I think they said it was Romy, found the bodies. And, I mean, this poor girl walking in and seeing her mom and dad with their throats slit and multiple stab wounds. She reportedly, according to TMZ, was the one who called the police and said, look inside the family. And that's a nice way of saying she turned her brother in, that he was her first suspect. And when you hear this reports, Emily, about the family, you understand why she knew that indeed it was Nick, as the police now say it was. Innocent until proven guilty, but he is in police custody with $4 million bond. He apparently had problems right from the start. And there's an interview on the Daily Mail with the family yoga instructor, which may sound weird that they had a family yoga instructor, but A, Hollywood and big wealth, but B, I think it was because of Nick. So he was apparently like a very tough kid, very tough child. The yoga instructor telling the Daily Mail about how he would scream. He would just come into rooms screaming bloody murder and required endless amounts of attention. And like if you didn't give it stat, you were going to pay for it. And so she was an attempt by the parents to bring some calm into the child's life, like get him to have a moment of zen and like connect with like his meditative spiritual side and do something physically taxing, which also can be good for whether it's a pet or a child. You know, that actually can be good for calmness. And she said it was just very tough with him. And was she the one who wrote the book, Little Nicky? I think she was the one who wrote the book based on him and how a family hires a yoga instructor to help him through it. But it sounds like he never got through it because by age 15, he was addicted to drugs. He was in and out of rehab 17 or 18 times from age 15 to now he's 32. So that's 17 years in and out of rehab over and over and over. And he was so problematic that he and Rob Reiner, his father, made a movie about a father and son where the son is addicted to drugs. It was called Being Charlie. And here is a shot that we pulled from it, a clip, shot 10.
Jesus, Charlie. The fuck are you doing? Hey, Dad. It's great to see you. You know, I decided to stop by. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So you want to live your life, huh? Messing things up so that Daddy has to clean up after you? Clean up after? Yeah. If it's not smashing a church window, it's stealing a car. If you're not stealing a car, posting a video. Video? What are you talking about? It's all over the fucking internet. What are you gonna deny that now? Adam. Oh, yeah, sure. Keep blaming other people for your shit. Why can't you just be honest and own something for once?
Honesty, great. I'm really glad you brought that up, Dad. I am, because, I was never a big fan of your pirate movies, but that sociopath you played on the phone with that Utah bullshit, that was spot on.
You left me no choice.
Oh, no choice. You're gonna talk to me about
You've had plenty of fucking choices, Chad.
Yeah, rehab or jail. Quite a wide selection there.
You're really gonna do this?
It's really chilling now knowing that Rob and his son Nick were behind it, that they wrote it together. Rob directed it, but there's a clip of him saying, I learned that while I was the most experienced director on that set and most experienced person in movies, I was not more experienced than my son in this world. And that I had to listen to him about certain scenes and so on. It sounds like a very tumultuous relationship, Emily. And just as we came to air, I think it was TMZ again breaking that they had had an explosive argument at Conan O'Brien's party on Saturday night, he and his son, to the point where Rob and Michelle left the party, and to the point where, again, the sister knew immediately, according to reports, they needed to call her brother. Your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, it's heart-wrenching it's always heart-wrenching when you see somebody who is kind of left to fend for themselves and people don't know what to do with them. But this is heart-wrenching in a different way. When you know, and you can tell from all of the reports piling up now, his parents, his family seem to do absolutely everything that they could to get him help over the years, addressed it at film length, working together at film length to hash out this pain and this suffering, and to know that they tried. I mean, even just that report about Conan O'Brien's party, assuming it was a holiday party or something like that, you have a family, bringing their troubled son to a party. That's, it may sound like a small thing, but when you go through all of that tumult with your own child, it just shows to me, even in that little anecdote, that they were trying so hard to keep him in their lives and to keep him healthy. And so to hear that, it gets you, because clearly they wanted the best for him and they wanted to do everything they could to help. And sometimes you just feel like you run out of options. And it sounds like that's what happened here.
Well, to your point, the TMZ just dropped the following, quoting from the report. Our family sources add, Michelle, that's Rob's wife, had been anguishing to friends over the last few months that she and Rob were at their wits' end over Nick's mental illness and alleged substance abuse issues, and did not know what to do with their son Nick, saying, quote, "We've tried everything." I feel for them so acutely. If you guys have ever had an addict in your family, you know how explosive that issue can be and how difficult a monster it is to conquer. There are a lot of politicians that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas, but Birch Gold thinks, as a smart planner, you deserve silver. That's why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold will send you an ounce of silver, which is up over 60% this year. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. That's why you should consider Birch Gold. With the rate cuts from the Fed in 2026, the dollar could be worth less. And what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Consider letting Birch Gold Group help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And for every $5,000 you buy, you will get an ounce of silver for you or your kids. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text MK to 989898 because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. I want to go now to Brown University, where there is still a killer on the loose. And one does not take any comfort from what's happening with the local authorities. I want to give you what Mayor Brett Smiley said on an interview with Good Morning America. Hold on a second. Let's just make sure this is what he's talking about. He's talking about whether the suspect who was in custody, the person of interest, but then he got released. He's talking about whether that the person of interest has been fully cleared. Here he is on GMA. Watch this.
So you're absolutely convinced the person of interest had nothing to do with this?
We're not saying that definitively. What we're saying is that after a review of the evidence that was gathered, it was determined that the person of interest needed to be released.
Okay, so that's him yesterday morning saying we are not saying definitively that that person of interest is fully cleared. Later that day, yesterday, the Attorney General, this is the mayor, the Attorney General, Peter Nerona of Rhode Island, reiterated that the person who was detained and released yesterday is no longer a person of interest. Quote, he has been cleared. He has been cleared. But the mayor, when asked whether the suspect had been fully cleared, quote, we're not saying that. Indeed, you are saying that through your Attorney General, you idiot. Like,
yeah, no kidding.
How are they not on the same page with that, you guys?
Like, it should be at least a conference call. Right? Maybe just a heads up that we think something about this grisly situation.
Hey, I'm about to go on national
cleared
television.
Or not cleared?
Yeah.
You know,
make sure to book the national television and then then give an answer that shitty.
Right. That's the problem with so many of these politicians. They're like, hey, this is my chance for fame, rather than here is a terrible thing that's happened in my community. I need to get to the bottom of it and let somebody else talk to the national press. You know what I mean? Like, this is a terrible trend in our politics, and national media only feeds it. And I mean, who cared? Like the mayor on Good Morning America, the ratings aren't what they used to be on Good Morning America. The guy needs to do his job and help this community who he was elected to serve.
Yeah. No, the public only appreciates.
You know why he can't, Ashbrook? He explained why he can't do his job that easily. He's got some issues, and I think, hold on a second, I want to make sure. Here it is. Here are some of his issues. This is from a Monday afternoon presser, SOT 11.
Everyone you see behind us, we've all been working for now 49 hours. We're tired. We're serious about the task at hand. I know all of you have been working very hard, and I suspect all of you are just as tired.
Bro,
no one cares you're tired.
I would get up and let him have a piece of my mind. We got Mayor McCheese. Well, I mean, what's the population of this town? This guy thinks he's like the president. What are you talking about? You're tired. 49 hours? You don't even get your facts straight. What is your job, first of all? Like, what is the responsibilities you have? Because keeping your people safe and everyone on the same page, you haven't done that. I think that's like the basic job of any elected office, right? Mm-hmm. How did no one get up and just slap him?
Boy, they've slid a long way since Buddy Cianci, haven't they? That Buddy would have had that guy cuffed and stuffed. The former Providence mayor.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. I don't know. How do you know the former mayor of Providence?
Oh, this guy there.
Yeah. Buddy Cianci used to be a wonderful mob town.
Yeah, exactly.
Raymond Patriarca.
You got to get up on this. There's a Crime Town.
Oh. Yeah, Crime Town. It's a good podcast.
It's a good podcast. You should check it out. But it examines the rule of Buddy Cianci.
It holds Italians accountable, but I don't.
But of which I can promise you that in Buddy Cianci's Providence, none of this would be an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we've got Mayor Smiley, who's super smiley and tired. Joke. Really tired. It's very hard to track down a killer. No one feels sorry for you. I don't know why on earth he would say such a thing, but he did say such a thing. And by the way, just in case you're feeling confident about the Attorney General, who apparently set the record straight by saying, oh, no, the guy's been cleared. We have moved on. He's the same Attorney General who put this woman on leave, but then kept employed his assistant Attorney General named Devin Hogan Flanagan, who you may remember from a couple of months ago.
He's one of our favorites.
August. Right? Who was boozing it up at a Newport restaurant, very drunk, and started to play the I'm an AG card. Here she is in SOT 12.
I want you to turn your body cam off. Protocol is that you turn it off. If a citizen requests it to turn it off, she's a lawyer.
So they want you guys to leave?
Yes, we're going.
Let's just leave. Let's just make it easy, okay?
We're going to make it easy. No, that's not.
You guys just want to know? Do you want them trespass?
Anything we can do. Yeah. Trespass, yeah. I just need
trespass. Got to know.
Yeah, please.
So you're trespass, so we got to leave now, unless you want to be in there.
We're not trespassing. You haven't notified us that we're trespassing. Number one.
What did I just say to you? You're trespass. Let's go.
Number one.
I don't want to arrest you guys.
What did I just say?
You're not going to arrest us. Number two.
So let's leave. We got to go. We got to go.
Protocol
let's
is
go.
to calm down for 1 second.
I think this is where she shows us the world.
So she knows.
Well, that's lawyer stuff, so that's not true. So we got to go.
No, it is. That's law. I'm an AG. I'm an AG.
Good for you. I don't give a shit. Let's
You're
go.
so fancy.
Good for you.
I'm glad you ended that clip where it got a little racy.
Is this the first time a Flanagan got too many Guinness deep and started trouble in Providence?
No,
Saturday night.
A lot of bashing of the Irish. All right, hold, slow your roll. There, smug.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's still gainfully employed. And for all we know, working on this case. Who the hell knows? Here's another one for you. This is Colonel Oscar Perez. What's his role in this? He was at the presser Monday afternoon. This is the police chief. Mm-hmm. And listen to this, because the reporter asked the question that we all want to know the answer to. We've all heard the reports about this shooter allegedly yelling Allahu Akbar before the shooting. Unconfirmed. The reporter phrases it a little differently, but listen to this non-answer. SOT 8.
Now, there's a report the shooter yelled something right before his shot came in.
Can you tell us what that was?
Yeah, it's a part of the investigation, John, and we'll, yeah.
Now, the only reason I asked that, though, is, for instance, like with the Unabomber, his brother recognized the writing. So it's possible a friend or family member might recognize if the person said something that was significant.
Correct.
That's why you don't, other than the 9mm, is there anything else inside that auditorium that you could tell us?
No, that's correct. And listen, like I said earlier, investigations will bring us to evidence that we need to collect in order to be able to prosecute. With that being said, we're going to continue to collect evidence, and if it leads us to something to that nature that's going to be extremely helpful.
I'm going to go ahead and say he didn't shout Merry Christmas. Okay,
I think that's probably
yeah. And also, what is with that reporter? Somehow tying this to the Unabomber, like maybe we're going to discern something.
You don't have to justify.
Yeah, these two words the guy said.
He was extremely scared to ask the obvious question.
The obvious question. Did he say Allahu Akbar?
We had 35 years of terrorist attacks in this country since the Unabomber.
Yeah.
And it kind of had some similarities. I don't know if anybody's paying attention.
But nor as a reporter do you have to justify your question, especially at a presser. We only get one shot. Just, did he yell what did he yell? There are reports it was Allahu Akbar. Can you confirm?
Right.
That's it. Get up and down on your question.
Yes.
Don't give me a history lesson. No one cares about Ted Kaczynski in this moment. We have a killer to find. My God, like the ineptitude. So now yesterday they did release additional pictures. They're going to other houses now because since apparently of the hundreds of security cameras across Brown University, they don't have one on this building.
Amazing.
And they don't have one showing the suspect in any way that's clear. So now they're going to area houses asking for like their ring cam video, and they've put out, let's air them. I mean, it's a little tough. All we know is this guy is husky. He's husky. And they're saying he might be around 5'8", and not a thin guy. Looks like an overeater.
Oh, this is the
big
best we have?
Yeah.
This is what your Ivy League tuition goes to? Let's hope the neighbors got ring cameras?
Boy, the civil libertarians know when to move, huh?
I mean, this is unbelievable.
Well,
this is unbelievable.
Right? How are we going to catch this guy like this, you guys? It's not like Luigi, where at least when he was on the run, remember he had gone to like that, this is the best one right here. Luigi had gone to like some soup kitchen or something, and he had pulled down his mask when he was looking at that girl.
Yeah.
And so we did have a picture of his face, which is how they found him in that McDonald's. This guy, so far, nothing. And here we are now. It's Tuesday. This happened Saturday. We don't know where he is. And the mayor is still saying everyone should send their kids to school. Would you send your kids to school this week in Providence, Rhode Island?
No.
I think I'd move out of Providence altogether if I saw that this was the extent of the law enforcement.
I mean, Keystone Cops is right. That is.
Look at this.
This is unbelievable.
Look, you guys. Look at this.
I mean,
this is what we're getting from the local authorities.
I couldn't believe they put that out. There is clearer pictures of Bigfoot than there are of that situation. No, seriously, look at it. It like
looks
blends.
like a tree.
Yeah, it blends into the background. It literally, there is better evidence of Bigfoot than that.
You cannot see anything. This does not instill any sort of confidence whatsoever. It's like,
boy, the people of Providence
if they didn't have cameras on Brown University, yeah, like why not?
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't you? Like, what are the crime fighting methods at the university? Like, I don't get it. I'm very concerned because no one knows where he's going next. No one knows whether there is a list. And then there's this reporting by our own Mark Halperin, who's part of the MK Media Network, who reported as follows. Watch this.
People are telling me that the family of Ella Cook, the Alabama young woman who was a sophomore, has been told that she was the target of what happened at Brown. I have no idea whether that's true. There's other theories about why the person did what they did, but now that we don't know who the assailant is, it's going to be harder to say.
Mm-hmm.
He admits this is not something he would put in the New York Times if he worked there. He doesn't feel the reporting is shorn up to the level of like you'd put it in print in a major newspaper, although we can debate what the standards are at the New York Times. But in any event, he's saying that he is being told by a reliable source that that's what Ella Cook's family has been told. She was the vice president of the college Republicans on campus. The other man who was killed was a naturalized U.S. citizen from Uzbekistan who had dreams of becoming a neurosurgeon who, I mean, for what it's worth, appears to have brown skin and didn't match like the same profile as the young white Ella Cook, who was the college Republican. Just for what it's worth, I mean, there were many other people who were shot, but the reporting that Mark is getting is that Ella was the one who was targeted, and she and this other young man are the ones who were killed. It's just one of the many reasons why we need to find this guy, you guys, because, of course, people, if this is some sort of a Republican targeting, no matter what kind of targeting it is, we need to know. There are a lot of politicians that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas, but Birch Gold thinks, as a smart planner, you deserve silver. That's why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold will send you an ounce of silver, which is up over 60% this year. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. That's why you should consider Birch Gold. With the rate cuts from the Fed in 2026, the dollar could be worth less. And what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Consider letting Birch Gold Group help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And for every $5,000 you buy, you will get an ounce of silver for you or your kids. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text MK to 989898 because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. Let's talk about the latest in the Rob Reiner murder, the horrific double murder in which the couple's son, Nick, is in custody. This time yesterday, bail had been set at $4 million, and we criticized that on this show, saying that's not going to do it. And sure enough, bail was revoked. There is no bail set for him. He needs to remain in custody, where now they are reporting, TMZ, that he is on suicide watch and in an administrative segregation, they call it, at Twin Towers Correctional Facility in L.A. The night before his parents were murdered, Saturday night this past, Nick got into a very loud argument with his father at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party. The shouting match was loud enough that many others could hear it, that Rob and his wife, Nick's mother, Michelle, then left the party. We do not know if Nick left with them, reports TMZ. A source at the party told us Nick looked out of place at the party, mostly keeping to himself. And there was more on that in today's reporting. Then this just broke. Hold on before I move on to this. So there's so much to tell you. Stand by. Let's see. Fox News Digital reporting Nick Reiner was, quote, not medically cleared to appear in court today, which he was supposed to do. His lawyer, Alan Jackson, that's the guy who represented Karen Reed and got an acquittal for her. He's got a much tougher battle on this one, right? Saying, quote, he is not medically cleared to be transported to the court. That's an obvious reference to his mental health. Nick, 32, did not appear before a judge on Tuesday, the first time he was scheduled to appear since the bodies of Rob and Michelle were discovered. Tuesday's hearing was postponed for another date. Now there's reporting about what happened at his hotel room, how those who checked him in said they didn't see blood all over him or cuts on him. There was nothing obviously wrong with him. But when the police made their way over to his hotel, they found a lot of blood on early Sunday morning in Santa Monica. He was staying at a place called the Pier Side, and he checked in around 4 a.m. Sunday. So the murder apparently was already done using his credit card. His check-in came hours after the heated argument at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party. Eyewitnesses said he did seem tweaked out when he checked in, but no visible signs he'd been in a violent confrontation, no blood stains or cuts on his body. The reservation was made for just one day, but he never formally checked out. When the staff came into his room later Sunday morning, they found the shower full of blood on the bed. The window in the room was covered by bed sheets, and the cops eventually went and gathered evidence there. The report on the argument at Conan's party, many people noticed he was behaving strangely. He was, quote, freaking everyone out, acting crazy. He kept asking people if they were famous, a source told People magazine. Per TMZ, after Rob Reiner and Nick got into a, quote, very loud argument, the director and Michelle left. That his behavior at Conan's house alarmed the guests because it was so bizarre. One of the guests recalled Rob Reiner telling his son his behavior was inappropriate. Nick Reiner's behavior looked anxious. He looked uncomfortable in a way that deeply unsettled one guest and another attendee. So Then you have this from Billy Bush, who of course is a great entertainment reporter in particular, weighing in on the fact that Romy Reiner, who is, I think, only 19 or 20, she's the one who found her parents with their throats slit.
It's awful.
And bodies stabbed multiple times. And there's new information in this soundbite. Listen here from Billy Bush.
I got this from a friend who lives in the community. I heard that the son, Nick, went into his parents' house, stabbed both mom and dad, and that the daughter, I guess, lives on the property or at the house or in the back house, and that she found them, and that the mom was still alive, and apparently she called the ambulance and went in the ambulance with her mother. Michelle died in the ambulance, but had enough time to tell her daughter that it was Nick, their son, who stabbed them, and that's why they figured it out so quickly, and he's in custody.
My God.
Yeah.
Romy's 28, FYI, but that's a critical piece of the prosecution's case right there, you guys. If it's called a dying declaration, it comes into court, even though it's hearsay, because it's an out-of-court statement by someone. But a dying declaration comes in over hearsay objections. So if Romy Reiner is actually going to take the stand and repeat that her mother told her as she lay dying that it was Romy's brother, Nick, oh my God, yeah. He's toast. And what a tragedy all around. Thoughts on these latest developments, guys?
Totally. Horrific tragedy, obviously. And another good reminder that nobody is immune to the terrors of drug abuse. And, you know, anybody who's followed this story has known the troubles that Nick, his son, had for decades. They made a movie about it back in 2015 where the whole Reiner family was sort of involved in trying to get Nick to tell his story. And there's a vignette, I think it was like a Hollywood Reporter or something today, wrote about how this reporter who was then at the LA Times was basically begged by Reiner to cover this story because he was trying to show that his son has got a better life here and they're doing this together, and what was a troubled relationship is now moving forward. And he had his own, as a reporter, his own hesitations about all of that. It's an interesting...
This is the piece in the Hollywood Reporter by Stephen Zeitchik.
That's it.
Is that the one?
That's it.
Holmes, yeah, I've got it. And we'll go through it a little bit of detail. Keep going.
I found it fascinating. But I also think, like, look, Reiner, he's an icon. You don't have to agree or disagree with his politics to understand the impact that he had on movies, on films that we all grew up with, both comedy and drama and all these kind of things. And so it is sort of shocking as a person in the public, you see something like this happen to. But I think it is a reminder that we've got to take these kind of things seriously.
And a reminder, I think, of like you can be born into every privilege in the world, and drug addiction can still bring you down.
Yep.
And that's the scary thing, because there are so many Americans who struggle with this that don't have all of the resources of a Reiner family, which only
he was
really
in
does
rehab like 20 times.
Right, which only really does emphasize how destructive this is to life of a family.
I mean, I have to say, I read a report on page 6 of the New York Post today that brought up a quote from Nick Reiner from a few years back, where he admits that he lost his virginity at age 14 to a prostitute. Only now you're supposed to call them sex workers, whatever. He called, the report is that he called a sex worker to come over for $200 and lost his virginity to her, and that he got the idea, reports the Post, from someone he met who was also in some like post-rehab. Like they met in rehab and now they were both post-rehab. I thought he only went to rehab for the first time when he was 15. This would put it even earlier at age 14. And I'm sorry, like I do have to ask, how does a 14-year-old get so addicted to drugs that at least at 14 or 15, they already have to go into rehab and they're calling sex workers to come to the house in the middle of the night? He said he borrowed the money from his parents without telling them what it was for. I just have to ask, because I'd like to believe that if any of these behaviors were happening in my home, I would know, because I am also a very busy professional, but I have a very close eye on my children. I'm not blaming Michelle and Rob, but I do think we have to be honest about the fact that this level of drug addiction at this young an age may involve parents who are focused on the wrong thing, like careers instead of their kid. And while it looks like Michelle and Rob did everything within their power once they realized their kid was an addict to try to help him, that's not good enough. You have to head it off at the pass. You have to be totally attuned to your child's behaviors before that demon gets a hold of him.
Yeah. Yeah, no question. I mean, look, he's a deeply troubled young man, obviously, and drug addiction probably did the paddling on that, but, there's probably some psychological issues there too. I also think, like, you don't know what the lifestyle was like. I mean, you can watch the Charlie Sheen documentary to find out what it's like to be young and rich in Hollywood.
Well,
and
the Hollywood component of this is what I would say is like, don't raise your kids around Hollywood. I think this is a degenerate place that's full of drugs and prostitution and manipulating young people. And I just can't imagine having to raise a young family in that environment, even if you are involved in movies and film and that sort of thing. I feel like that is the main factor in this, is just that town and how terrible it is.
Make me sound like a provincial bumpkin or something, but like under no circumstance would I ever raise a family in Los Angeles. Like
Hell no.
You never hear any story of like, my kids started a lemonade stand when they were kids and they're completely normal now. We live in Brentwood. Like you never heard that story.
Right.
It's true.
But it's also interesting in that at least in recent years, since 2015, they did an enormous amount of things as a family. Mm-hmm. And I think it was, it seems from the outside looking in, I don't have any firsthand knowledge, but it looks to me like they were trying, the four of them with, was it Romy was the daughter's name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To basically just try to.
There's another brother too.
Yeah. It will just try to will their way through this whole thing. And like, look, this is a good example. He's at Conan O'Brien's Christmas party. I can't imagine that Conan O'Brien was like, hey, I definitely want Nick there. But like
they brought him.
They brought him, right? And so if you see all of this over the last few years where he's just a part of every picture, like they were at a Spinal Tap 2 September premiere that he was at. Now, did he have anything to do with it? No, but he's a part of the family. They were trying to will their way through it. I think to your point, Megyn, maybe he's too far gone, obviously, at this point. But it's about the lifestyle, and it's about I can't blame them.
Also,
but this is a horrible tragedy.
But it's not about blame. I'm not blaming them either. I have nothing but empathy for Rob and Michelle. God rest them. But I do think we all, as parents, we have to take an honest look at where did this thing go sideways? Because yesterday we talked a lot about the yoga instructor who Michelle and Rob brought in to teach young Nick yoga when I think he was as young as 10, because his behavior was so strange. Mm-hmm. I don't think he was on drugs at age 10. There's something off about it. I think this kid had a mental health issue from a very young age, according to the yoga instructor, who said he would like scream at that age when he wasn't getting the attention he needed. So I think drugs were sort of a way of addressing what was probably a previous mental health issue. But I also really think, especially if you've got a kid who is going to be special needs like that, I would get out of a place like Hollywood. I keep thinking of Matthew McConaughey, who came on this show. He's from Texas. He was making it big in Hollywood. And he and his wife, who's a successful model, I can't remember if she's also an actress, but model for sure. They were like, we're out of here. And they went back to Texas, and they have raised good kids. And his son is actually getting into acting now, but seems very together by all rights. But as an adult, as like an 18 or 19-year-old.
Yeah.
But they raised their kids in Texas because they did not want anything like this to happen to them. And he also put limits on his career, like how much he'd be away from his family. He brought his family. He brought his wife with him. Like even, oh God, who was I just reading about? It was, I think it's Ed Burns and Christy Turlington, who have a rule that they won't be away from each other for more than 2 weeks. And their marriage has lasted. Like there are like the people who make sure like the kids are protected, notwithstanding the huge trappings of wealth, success, and the fast lane that is Hollywood, tend to do a lot better. There are a lot of politicians that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas, but Birch Gold thinks, as a smart planner, you deserve silver. That's why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold will send you an ounce of silver, which is up over 60% this year. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. That's why you should consider Birch Gold. With the rate cuts from the Fed in 2026, the dollar could be worth less. And what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Consider letting Birch Gold Group help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And for every $5,000 you buy, you will get an ounce of silver for you or your kids. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text MK to 989898 because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. There was a pair of gunmen that targeted a Hanukkah event at Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia on Sunday. Our pal Dan Wooten says Bondi Beach is like Times Square. It's like the place you go when you go to Australia, which sadly I've never been. The death toll now stands at 15 with over 40 injured, and the scenes of the shooters and the people running for their lives are unforgettable. Here's some. This is dark.
¿Qué está pasando? ¿Dónde? Alicia, escucha, Alicia, ¿qué está pasando?
It's so weird because it's, again, on a beach. It just, people are frolicking. You know, you go to the beach, have super fun. Like it's frivolous. And now there's a death threat. Multiple outlets have reported the shooters are father and son, 50-year-old Sajid Akram and his 24-year-old son, Naveed. Sajid was shot dead. Naveed was shot and is in critical condition. Per the BBC, the father came to Australia on a student visa, and he stayed on in the country for decades on different kinds of visas. They were refusing to say what country he came from. Why is that? Why can't we know what country he came from as he shows up to murder Australians with an ISIS flag on his fucking car? Tell us what country he's from. The Prime Minister of Australia is omitting that from the details. His son was born in Australia and thus was Australian. The Daily Telegraph in Australia reporting that the pair had spent a month in the Philippines in the lead up to the massacre, one of the world's top extremist hotspots. And ABC News in Australia is reporting that the son came to the attention of Australia's domestic intelligence agency 6 years ago for potential ties to a Sydney-based Islamic State terror cell, but ultimately they deemed him to not be a threat. That was a fail. Despite all that and Australia's strict, very strict gun laws, the father, Sajid, owned 6 guns registered to his name. During the shooting, a bystander risked his own life to try to stop one of the gunmen. In this video I'm about to play you will see the bystander, now identified as 43-year-old Ahmed Al-Ahmed, a Muslim father of 2, run at the gunman and strip away his gun. Watch. It's incredible. He's trying to wrestle him to the ground. He got his gun. He's got his gun on the shooter. He fires. He's missing. Oh, it's the other guy firing at him. And he does get shot. Ahmed gets shot. And the son stumbles away. The gunman later retreats, you saw the beginning of it there, to the bridge from which the pair were firing, and started firing again at the direction of Al-Ahmed and another man hiding with him behind a tree. When the other man hiding with Al-Ahmed behind the tree starts running away, he was shot. Watch.
En gros, il a récupéré l'arme du mec qui... Tu sais, il l'avait pris dans sa main, là.
Hiding there. One gets up.
Oui, oui, j'ai vu.
Starts running.
Ouais. Mais gars, je comprends pas ce qui se passe, gars.
And he got shot. Al Ahmed now recovering in the hospital. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation reports he was shot in the hand and the arm. This is a picture of this man who tried to stop what he saw and without a gun just ran in there and tried to disarm we believe it was the son. He's a local fruit shop owner, but did have experience working in law enforcement. His father told ABC, "My son is a hero. He served in the police. He has the passion to defend people. When he saw people lying on the ground in the blood, quickly his conscience pushed him to attack one of the terrorists." And now, Emily, we're learning a lot more. They say that this went on for minutes and minutes and minutes. We hear sirens throughout the video that we've seen. And you can also hear in some of these videos witnesses shouting, "Where are the cops?" It's more than 4 minutes into the video before incoming shots targeting the attackers strike the bridge. And eyewitnesses to the attack say that 4 armed police officers who were there did not return fire. There is video of one female cop appearing to cower behind a police car instead of shooting at the attackers. Maybe there's more to the story. That bystander didn't seem to feel any fear. And this is from a country that has the world's strictest gun control measures, anywhere. I mean, literally the world's strictest. And yet still, bad men who are on the radar of the police, at least one of them, as being connected with ISIS, then I guess it gets moved off the radar and then they go to the Philippines for a month, become further radicalized. You'd think they'd be at least still on the watch list for flights like that. Come back, put the ISIS flag on their car, have 2 more ISIS flags inside their vehicle reportedly, get out with the 6 guns that the dad had, and shoot 40 people. I mean, how does this happen?
Australia is obviously already talking about guns, but they should consider that whether it's guns, pressure cooker bombs, or cars, we have seen plenty of car attacks in Europe, actually here in the United States. What they're sharing in common here is Islamic militant Islamism. And Rod Dreher had an interesting note on his Substack this morning where he wrote, reportedly, the hero in this case, when you're playing that video, I basically wanted to jump out of my chair and start applauding, is also Muslim. And Dreher wrote, there are Muslims around the world, we should keep in mind, who are also sick of this bullshit militant Islamism. And that's what you see in this case, apparently, with the hero who stops the shooting. But if you're going to talk about guns, there's something so much deeper that political correctness in the West has blinded us to paying attention at the degree. We all know this. I mean, everybody knows this. We've known this for 20 years. The degree to which we need to take these cases seriously. I mean, one of them being on the radar of police and being cleared. I am very curious to hear the various layers of that story and how that ended up happening, because I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that there was a lack of seriousness dedicated to the ideological component.
Yeah.
We see it.
Good point.
We see it all the time.
Did you hear the Prime Minister saying, yeah, we've got to look into, radical Islamic violence and right-wing violence too. What? Who says that at this moment? You've got 2 jihadis, one dead, one in the hospital, who just shot 40 people. And why would you even mention right-wing violence right now? It's politics once again.
It's politics, and then the politics bleeds into the substance, where you end up, for the sake of political correctness, trying to devote as many resources to what's less of a threat. I'm not saying that it's zero threat, but when you have examples like this time and again, I mean, I remember when the car examples, the parade examples first started happening, really in the 2010s. It reminds me of what we're thinking about now, where you're at a beach. I mean, you and I, we're both Americans. I actually don't know. I know a lot of people who conceal carry. I don't know many people who conceal carry at a beach. That is one of the places where you just don't even think. I mean, it's associated with total relaxation and zen. But now you have to. Of course you now have to, just like we've had to start putting up these stanchions during parades, Christmas parades, and to be aware of cars. I mean, it's all rooted. All of these cases over and over again have all been rooted in the same ideological poison of militant Islamism. And to even, gesture at right-wing violence in this case suggests not just a posturing, but also something that's going to happen in the substance of law enforcement in Australia, which, again, we've seen happening for years now, too.
I mean, it's amazed me because Australia does not F around when it comes to immigration.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard to immigrate into Australia. It's next to impossible to illegally immigrate into Australia. But there has been a growing cry there, as here, as in Europe, from people whose families have been there for generations saying, what are we doing? Who are we letting in here? Why are we actively changing our culture and our country by assimilating or trying to let in people who will not assimilate, who don't share our values, who don't share our cultures, and who wind up posing a threat to us? You know, I mean, it's not so long and it still exists in many cultures and many communities. You're not allowed to ask that question. Now, can we ask that question? Can we ask it in Australia? Can we ask it here? You know, it's like here we're seeing massive fraud in the Midwest with our money, which we've also seen jihad in America domestically.
In Minnesota.
But
in Minnesota.
In Minnesota. But this is one of the most stark examples we've seen as of late. They don't normally tack on the ISIS flag and make super clear exactly what they're doing.
Tim Walz and Ilhan Omar can't even admit, as other Somalis have done, by the way, that there may be a cultural component, indeed that there is a cultural component to the fraud cases. They can't even admit the fraud could stem from cultural reasons of assimilating a population, by the way, that has, according to UNICEF, a 99% rate of female genital mutilation into the upper Midwest. They can't even admit that there could be a cultural component to welfare fraud, let alone imagine getting them to admit then that there would be something rooted in a religion where, by the way, it's not politically correct to say, but the prophet was a warlord. Assimilating that into Western democracies, they can't even admit if the fraud is coming from it. So let alone dedicating the necessary resources to, actually stopping potential militant Islamic extremism. You can see what a problem we have on our hands when the refugee politicization, the political correctness of refugee resettlement prevents people from even having a conversation about assimilation and fraud. I mean, there are a lot of people in this country. There are millions of people who came over the border during the Biden administration, some of whom were economic migrants, some of whom were genuine asylum seekers, some of whom actually want to do this country harm, many of whom actually want to do this country harm. We have no idea where they are. The Trump administration now has to dig the country out of that hole. So good luck to all of us, because the door has been open for the last 4 years.
There are a lot of politicians that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas, but Birch Gold thinks, as a smart planner, you deserve silver. That's why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold will send you an ounce of silver, which is up over 60% this year. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. That's why you should consider Birch Gold. With the rate cuts from the Fed in 2026, the dollar could be worth less. And what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Consider letting Birch Gold Group help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And for every $5,000 you buy, you will get an ounce of silver for you or your kids. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text MK to 989898 because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. The photography alone evidences the hatred that this magazine has for all of the Trump administration. I'm going to show you a couple of the up-close photos. You pose for a photo for Vanity Fair, a headshot. I think the common understanding would be that you're going to get a three-quarter, like a top third of your body, portrait, like from the chest up. Look at Susie Wiles. Can you see this on your monitor? Yeah. It's worse than a mugshot. It's even in the mugshot, they give you a little bit of collarbone. For the listening audience, it's literally from her chin up to her forehead in a facial expression where she looks like shocked. Mm-hmm. It does look mugshotty. Mm-hmm. It's not flattering. And she actually is a beautiful woman. You can easily get a good shot of Susie Wiles. Look at Caroline Leavitt. Stand by.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
That is Caroline Leavitt. I'm sorry, but it's such an extreme close-up. It doesn't even look like her. You can't even tell it's her, but it is. Yeah. It's her, but you can see the little needles from where she clearly had her lips done. which is something a lot of women do. But that is 100% by design.
Yeah,
they wanted to embarrass her. Like, fuck you. So she, you know what? I don't get my lips done, but I do get a bunch of needles in my face so they can inject a bunch of botulism in there and poison my forehead muscles.
I think my
I don't
kids,
think I'd appreciate it if that were close up on camera in Vanity Fair.
Megan, my kids would call that a 0.5. And everybody is doing a 0.5 picture of their friends, and everybody sees each other's friends in it like a less than favorable light.
The
And
setting on your phone.
yeah, it is. It's a setting on your
He's
phone.
up with that now, Megan. Like he's trying to teach us all this stuff.
Over here.
What I'm telling
look
you
at this.
is that Vanity Fair can throw their absolute worst at Caroline Leavitt and at Susie Wiles, and they are going to go to work today and impress everybody in the country. The 77 million people who voted for President Trump are well served by people like them.
Yeah, I just kind of think it doesn't matter anymore.
I don't think it does either.
I mean, a story like this, like
how do I get the little numbers to show up?
yeah, you got her on her phone now.
I'll FaceTime my daughter.
How do I aspect?
Careful with that. You don't want to take a lot of direction from Ashbrook about using your phone, Megan.
Nothing's happening. I'm just getting the reverse, like the normal selfie. But I have seen that little number on there where you can decide.
It's called a 0.5.
It's just going to end in a regrettable place, I'm afraid.
I don't get it. Sorry. Oh, I tried, but I am listening to you. But the 0.5 is not flattering. Look at J.D. Vance. Look at him. I mean, J.D. Vance is pretty much by anybody's measure a handsome man. Yeah. Look at this. Yeah. Looks like a serial killer. Yeah. Like, what is it? Like with the furrowed brows and no smile. He's always smiling. But no, this
I think that's a good shot.
Reminded me.
Smug loves it.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, honestly, I've seen him in so many memes at this point. Like, I just see his face everywhere.
Yeah, usually they add 100 pounds.
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
I mean,
he doesn't have a Jerry curl.
But look, this reminds me of what they did to Ann Coulter on the cover of Time magazine, which we pulled too, where they made her look absurd. And Ann Coulter, too, is a beautiful woman. And yet, look what they did to her. And by the way, she's statuesque. Like, she's very tall, very lean, something most people would like to be. And they shot her sitting down in this chair with her legs crossed, where they look totally disproportionate to her body, trying to humiliate her. Like, not to mention, this happened to Sarah Palin when she was running as McCain's running mate. Like, it's very dicey for a conservative to sit for a photo shoot with a magazine that hates them. You really are taking a risk. And I feel bad for the administration because I think they probably trusted Susie that we're going to cooperate with Vanity Fair. We're going to be happy with how this turns out. And there is no way anybody is happy with how this article turned out.
Hey, Megan, I have a question for you because I agree 100% that like the left and the journos on the left, they save their most visceral hatred for conservative women.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if like you've ever felt that way in something that's covered you.
Oh, I mean, many times. I mean, just any day of the week, pick up the Daily Beast and you'll see yet another hit piece on me saying like, I should be canceled. My career should be over. How'd that work out for you, Daily Beast? Anyway, it's like you just get used to it.
Yeah.
So I am of the mind that if you willingly go into the belly of the beast, like I sat with the New York Times 6 months ago, whenever that was, you got to be ready. You've got to like fight. You know, you've got to make sure when they're bringing you to the thin ice, you know you're there and you don't just sink. Like, make sure you get your points in and ideally record it yourself so that you can fight back if the piece drops, and think about what the point of doing it is. You know, like,
yeah, that's right.
I sat with the New York Times because I actually thought it would be valuable for their listeners, their readers, to hear what I had to say about the Times and the state of media. Like, I actually thought they should listen to me. I can explain a few things to them about why they're so clueless on things like Joe Biden's mental acuity. But you have to do it eyes open and not thinking this is going to be a nice piece. Here's one more. This biased writer. He writes about how the deportations, many who they've grabbed in these raids, have been U.S. citizens or were entitled to be here. Not long after the El Salvador deportation fiasco, in Louisiana, ICE agents arrested and deported two mothers, along with their children, ages 7, 4, and 2, to Honduras. The children were U.S. citizens, and the 4-year-old was being treated for cancer. Wiles couldn't explain it. Well, I can. The mothers were illegal. Yep. And they said to the mothers, you got to go. Do you want your kids to stay here with a relative, or do you want them to go with you? And the mother said, with me. That's what happened. I'm sorry that the mothers were illegal, But they were. You don't get to stay just because you took advantage of birthright citizenship here and you happen to have an American baby. That's not how it works. So anyway, not a fair author, not a fair piece. There are a lot of politicians that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas, but Birch Gold thinks, as a smart planner, you deserve silver. That's why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold will send you an ounce of silver, which is up over 60% this year. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. That's why you should consider Birch Gold. With the rate cuts from the Fed in 2026, the dollar could be worth less. And what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Consider letting Birch Gold Group help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And for every $5,000 you buy, you will get an ounce of silver for you or your kids. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text MK to 989898 because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. Good morning, everyone. I'm Megyn Kelly. It's Monday, December 15th, 2025, and this is your AM Update. Famed director Rob Reiner and his wife found dead in the home, reportedly stabbed to death.
Shortly, we will be releasing the person of interest who had been detained earlier today.
Authorities in Rhode Island releasing a person of interest who had been detained throughout the day in connection with the Brown University mass shooting.
This was an attack deliberately targeted at the Jewish community.
A father and son opened fire on a Hanukkah celebration at Bondi Beach in Australia in a deadly targeted attack. 2 U.S. soldiers killed in an ISIS ambush in Syria. And the University of Michigan's head football coach fired, then arrested in a wild story involving accusations of an affair and breaking and entering. All that and more coming up in just a moment on your AM Update. As President Trump is settling into his new administration, one of the top Democrats in Congress aiming to undermine the Trump agenda is Senator Dick Durbin. And according to our sponsor, the Electronic Payments Coalition, Senator Durbin has a new scheme, a government takeover of your credit card. Today, Americans have thousands of choices in credit cards, but they say Senator Durbin's plan will result in less competition and less security. And that means more risk for your credit and identity. Learn more at guardyourcard.com and consider telling your senators to stop Dick Durbin's government takeover of your credit card before it's too late. Breaking news out of Los Angeles. 78-year-old director Rob Reiner and his 68-year-old wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, reportedly stabbed to death at the couple's Brentwood mansion. People magazine reporting the couple was killed by their son, Nick, though Deputy Chief of the LAPD, Alan Hamilton, declining to confirm that reporting, calling it, quote, a death investigation, but saying the report about the son, quote, did not come from us. Nick has previously been open about his struggles with drug abuse and mental illness. LAPD Robbery Homicide Division detectives were assigned to the case, reports local outlet NBC4. ABC7 in LA reporting that their LAPD sources have told them this is, quote, a murder investigation. Outlets reporting a large police presence around the home on Sunday evening. LA paramedics called to the home around 3:30 p.m. yesterday. LAPD officers originally dispatched to the home for a report of a, quote, ambulance death investigation, which is LAPD terminology when officers are called by firefighters to the discovery of a death. ABC7 reporting actors Billy Crystal and Larry David spotted at the home yesterday afternoon. Crystal, quote, looked like he was about to cry, according to a neighbor. Another briefing set for this morning. Late last night, authorities in Rhode Island announcing the release of a person of interest taken into custody early Sunday morning in connection with the mass shooting at Brown University on Saturday that left 2 dead, 9 injured. Providence Mayor Brett Smiley announcing the decision.
Shortly, we will be releasing the person of interest who had been detained earlier today, but we want to inform the community that that individual will shortly be released from Providence Police. Our investigation into this horrific act remains ongoing. It has been ongoing. And I know there's been some frustration from members of the community and others about the language that we've been using about the person of interest and such, and that speaks to directly the fact that this investigation was and continues ongoing, and we will continue to endeavor to not confirm any information that is not yet confirmable. And that is how we can best be transparent with all the members of our community to share the best information that we have.
Law enforcement sources telling the New York Post earlier in the day the person of interest was found in a hotel about half an hour away with a revolver and a small handgun featuring a, quote, unique laser light on the handgun, which sources say helped lead investigators to this person. Authorities not going into specifics about what evidence may or may not have been recovered from the hotel. Instead, Rhode Island Attorney General Peter Nerona offering this.
Certainly there was some degree of evidence that pointed to this individual, but that evidence needed to be corroborated and confirmed. And over the last 24 hours, leading into just very, very recently, that evidence now points in a different direction. So what that means is that this person of interest needs to be and should be released. I think what is really unfortunate that this person's name was leaked to the public. It's hard to put that back in the bottle, okay? So we're going to proceed very carefully here. There is too much at stake for the victims of this horrific crime and their families to take chances with respect to this investigation. We have not yet solved this case, but I'm confident we're going to do that. And I'm confident we're going to do that in the very near future.
Providence Chief of Police Oscar Perez saying the tip pointing to the person of interest was picked up by detectives and handed to the FBI, who ran it down. Yesterday afternoon, FBI Director Kash Patel posting an update on X, saying the FBI established a command post to intake, develop, and analyze leads and run them to ground. We activated the FBI's cellular analysis survey team to provide critical geolocation capabilities. As a result, early this morning, FBI Boston's Safe Streets Task Force, with assistance from the U.S. Marshals and the Coventry, Rhode Island Police Department, detained a person of interest in a hotel room in Coventry, Rhode Island. Turns out authorities now say that wasn't the guy. Mayor Smiley saying a new shelter-in-place alert will not be imposed, despite the AG saying a murderer is on the loose. The mayor saying there's no need for a new shelter-in-place order because no new shootings have taken place since the one on Saturday afternoon. Authorities saying all video evidence has been examined and more footage is required, asking residents to upload any video that might be helpful to fbi.gov/Brown University shooting. AG Nerona saying the building where the shooting took place is old and lacks security cameras. The mass shooting occurring around 4 p.m. Saturday when shots began ringing out inside the engineering and physics building of Brown University. Teaching assistant John Oduro yesterday on CNN describing the moment the shooter, dressed in black, entered his classroom.
I was giving my closing remarks, and then as soon as everybody stood up and started exiting the room, we heard what sounded like gunshots outside the door, and we heard screaming from various students. And then about 5 seconds later, we see a gunman enter the room, and then he just screamed something and just started shooting. I was standing in the front of the auditorium, and he came through the back, so we pretty much directly made eye contact. And then as soon as that happened, I looked at my students and signaled them to come to the front, and then I just ducked.
And was the gunman shooting when he entered the room?
No, he came in, pointed the gun, and then he screamed something. I don't know what he said, and none of the other students know what he said, but yeah, then he just started shooting right after that.
Authorities say the shooter, carrying a handgun, firing more than 40 rounds during the attack. Brown University President Christina Paxson at a press conference Saturday night frustrating reporters with a lack of information on the shooting. a theme that would be continued through late Sunday night.
President, with all due respect, 6 hours after this shooting, and you said you don't know what was going on in that classroom, how does that happen? Were they taking an exam? Were they meeting for a club?
I don't know. I don't know.
6 hours later, and you're the president, and you don't know.
I do not know.
Well, that's kind of concerning.
Of the injured, a hospital spokesman saying last night, 6 are in critical condition but stable, and another is in critical condition. Paxson confirming all of the victims are students. The identity of one of the 2 who lost their life released late last night, Ella Cook, vice president of the College Republicans. The president of the College Republicans of America releasing a statement, quote, Ella was known for her bold, brave, and kind heart as she served her chapter and her fellow classmates. Brown University has canceled all classes, exams, and remaining schoolwork for the rest of the semester, which was set to end this Friday. Islamic terrorism in Australia as 2 gunmen opening fire on hundreds of Jewish revelers gathering on Sydney's iconic Bondi Beach in celebration of the first night of Hanukkah in a targeted attack. The death toll rising to 15 as of Monday morning in Australia, with dozens more injured, including 5 in critical condition. The victims range in age from 10 to 87. New South Wales Police Commissioner Mal Lanyon on Sunday evening declining to release the names of the suspects, but providing additional information on their background.
We are satisfied that there were 2 offenders involved in yesterday's incident. One is deceased. The second is in critical but stable condition in hospital at the moment. The offenders are a 50-year-old and 24-year-old male who are father and son. The 50-year-old is deceased. The 24-year-old is currently in hospital at the moment. As part of the investigation, we conducted 2 search warrants last night, one at Bonnie Rig and a second at Campsie. The 50-year-old male is a licensed firearms holder. He has 6 firearms licensed to him. We are satisfied that we have 6 firearms from the scene yesterday, but also as a result of the search warrant at the Campsie address. Ballistics and forensic investigation will determine this morning that those 6 firearms are the 6 that were licensed to that man, but also that they were used in the offence yesterday at Bondi. We will continue to investigate this matter thoroughly.
Commissioner Lanyon saying the elder suspect who was killed by police was previously known to authorities but declining to elaborate, citing the ongoing investigation. The Sydney Morning Herald among the outlets identifying the suspects as 24-year-old Naveed Akram and 50-year-old Sajid Akram. Akram's mother telling the Herald her son was an unemployed bricklayer, last speaking to the family on Sunday morning. She describes him as not particularly social, though noting he did not appear to spend a lot of time online. Quote, anyone would wish to have a son like my son. He's a good boy. Authorities also discovering a vehicle containing several improvised explosive devices near the scene of the shooting. At approximately 6:45 p.m. Sunday evening, the father and son pulling up to the beach in a silver hatchback vehicle. The Daily Mail reporting a black ISIS-style flag was draped over the hood of their car. The pair reportedly began opening fire upon exiting the vehicle, sending hundreds scattering across the beach. One witness describing the scene to a reporter.
Can you tell me what happened?
Yes, there was 2 shooters, one on the bridge, one under the bridge. Just start to shoot for 20 minutes. They shoot, change magazine and just shoot. Simple as that. 20 minutes, was 4 policemen there. Nobody give fire back. Nothing, like they are froze. Like for, it looked like 20 minutes. Like, and they shoot, the guy change magazine. I look at him all the time. I was with 2 of my babies under me and I look at that. And it's just rifle and a pistol. And just shoot.
The shooter on the bridge is visible in a video that went viral on X. One can see a figure clad in black shooting over and over, pausing and shooting more for over 10 minutes before return fire begins, eventually hitting the shooter, who falls to the ground. Authorities say police were on scene within 10 minutes of the first reports of violence. Among some of the victims, Rabbi Eli Schlanker, 41 years old and organizer of the event, and Alex Kleitman, a Holocaust survivor who hailed from Ukraine, killed while shielding his wife Larissa from the gunman. Viral social media showing one man, later identified as 43-year-old Ahmed Al-Ahmed, sneaking up behind one of the shooters, successfully wresting a rifle from his hands. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese on Monday morning addressing the attack.
This was an attack deliberately targeted at the Jewish community on the first day of Hanukkah, which of course should be a joyous celebration. And the Jewish community are hurting today. Today, all Australians wrap our arms around them and say, we stand with you. We will do whatever is necessary to stamp out anti-Semitism.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday accusing Prime Minister Albanese of not doing enough to stop the spread of anti-Semitism in Australia, which officially recognized a Palestinian state in September. The country rocked by a string of anti-Semitic incidents since the October 7th attacks, including 2 arson attacks on synagogues. Coming up, 2 U.S. Army soldiers in Syria killed in an ISIS ambush, and the University of Michigan's head football coach arrested in a dramatic story following his firing. You know the holidays are always full of surprises. Here's one. When it comes to religious freedom, you might be surprised to learn which states rank low on the Religious Liberty in the States Index. The First Liberty Institute, the nation's leading law firm protecting religious freedom, just released this index, and it ranks all 50 states on how well they protect your right to live out your faith. The results? Full of surprises. If you have not heard of First Liberty, they're different. They've been on the front lines defending religious freedom for nearly 30 years. When your faith comes under attack, they are first in the fight. And they do it without ever sending their clients a bill. That's right, they do not charge a dime. They have a win rate of over 90% on their cases, including a 9-0 record at the U.S. Supreme Court. This Religious Liberty in the States Index is an independent, peer-reviewed study that gives you the real picture of religious liberty across America. Want to see where your state ranks or others do? Get your free copy today at firstliberty.org/Megyn. That's firstliberty.org/MEGYN. 2 U.S. Army soldiers and a U.S. civilian interpreter killed Saturday in Palmyra, a city in central Syria, in an attack believed to be carried out by an ISIS infiltrator inside the Syrian security forces. 3 more U.S. soldiers and 2 more members of Syrian security forces also wounded in the attack. The soldiers providing security outside a building where Syrian Interior Ministry officials from the capital were meeting with local counterparts, according to the New York Times. The lone attacker opening fire with an automatic weapon from a nearby building. Syrian security forces returning fire, killing the gunman. U.S. helicopters evacuating the wounded for treatment to a military base in southeastern Syria. President Trump reporting yesterday 2 of the wounded service members have been released from the hospital. The 3rd is expected to recover. Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds confirming the deceased soldiers were part of the Iowa National Guard. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth in a social media statement saying, quote, "Let it be known, if you target Americans anywhere in the world, you will spend the rest of your brief, anxious life knowing the United States will hunt you, find you, and ruthlessly kill you." President Trump from the White House lawn on Saturday.
We mourn the loss of 3 great patriots in Syria. You know how it happened. It was an ambush, terrible. We also have 3 wounded. They seem to be doing pretty well. But we mourn the loss. These are 3 great people. And it's just a terrible thing. Syria, by the way, was fighting along with us. The new president of Syria is, as they told me, and I'm not surprised, he's devastated by what happened. This was an ISIS attack on us and Syria. And again, we mourn the loss and we pray for them and their parents and their loved ones. Very, very sad.
Mr. President, will the U.S. retaliate against ISIS?
Yeah, we will. We will retaliate. Thank you very much.
U.S. and Syrian officials telling the Wall Street Journal the attacker was a member of the Syrian security forces who was about to be fired for holding extremist views. As mentioned, the attacker is believed to be a member of ISIS, who, CBS News reports, had infiltrated the local security force, though no group has claimed responsibility for the attack. This attack marking the first American casualties since dictator Bashar al-Assad's regime was toppled last year. U.S. officials have not yet indicated if the attack will prompt any policy changes in the region. What began as an internal personnel matter within the prestigious University of Michigan football program rapidly exploding into a wild scandal, leading to now former star head coach Sharon Moore's arrest. Last Wednesday, the Michigan athletic director firing 39-year-old Moore, terminating his $27.5 million contract over 5 years for cause, thus voiding the deal and nullifying the payment obligations. This upon learning of a, quote, inappropriate relationship Moore had been having with an employee. While the university has not publicly named that staffer, several outlets reporting it was his executive assistant, 32-year-old Paige Shiver. University policy stipulates that a supervisor may not initiate or attempt to initiate an intimate relationship with someone over whom they have supervisory authority. The Wall Street Journal reporting the saga began in mid-October when a tipster alerted school officials that Moore was having an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. The university opening an investigation at the time, but Moore, who is married with 3 kids, and the alleged mistress denied the relationship. The school then hiring an outside law firm to investigate further. Blue and Mays Review, a Michigan sports-focused outlet, reporting on Monday amid rumors of the affair, but without substantial proof, university officials advised Moore not to work directly with Shiver. Moore then reportedly moving to fire Shiver, rather than relocating her to another department. Not it, sir. A prosecutor saying Shiver ended the relationship last Monday. On Wednesday, the Wall Street Journal reporting Shiver contacted the law firm to confirm the relationship from about 2022 to 2024, saying she had emails, texts, and phone records to prove it. Later that same day, Moore was let go, reportedly going to Shiver's home, where he then allegedly broke in and threatened her and himself with a knife. Shiver calling 911, telling dispatchers Moore was attacking her and had been stalking her for months. A prosecutor later saying Moore, armed with butter knives, told Shiver, quote, "I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to make you watch. My blood is on your hands. You've ruined my life." Moore then fleeing the home, with authorities arresting him a short time later. He was booked into the county jail, spending Wednesday and Thursday night in custody before his Friday arraignment. Authorities charging Moore with felony third-degree home invasion and 2 misdemeanor charges, stalking and breaking and entering, the felony charge carrying up to 5 years in prison. Moore pleading not guilty to the charges. A magistrate setting bond at $25,000 and setting these conditions for Moore's release.
So you are not to use alcohol, marijuana, or any other controlled substance that is not prescribed to you. You are not to possess or purchase a firearm or any other dangerous weapon. You are not to engage in criminal conduct of any kind whatsoever. You may not leave the state of Michigan without permission of the court. Prior to your release, you will be placed on a GPS tether. You will not be released before that GPS tether is placed upon you. You must continue all mental health treatment as a condition of your bond. The named victim in this case will not be placed on the record. You may not have contact with that individual.
Moore posting bond on Friday and was shortly thereafter released. The next hearing is set for January 22nd. Biff Poggi will serve as interim coach of the Wolverines. Michigan is set to play in the Citrus Bowl against Texas on New Year's Eve. And that'll do it for your AM update. I'm Megyn Kelly. Join me back here for the MK Show, live on SiriusXM's The Megyn Kelly Channel, 111 at noon East, on youtube.com/Megyn Kelly, and on all podcast platforms. He was in the courtroom smiling. I certainly hope he doesn't have reason to smile. I certainly hope he's not banking on people being confused about the overwhelming mountain of evidence against him. Because let me tell you, those of us who are clear-eyed on what is and is not admissible as proof, and that's really all we should be concerned with, see all evidence pointing directly to Tyler Robinson. All of it pointing directly to Tyler Robinson. My only question is who may have helped him and who may have known about it prior to his arrest. And I really hope that the prosecution has no problem making that case. Inside the courtroom, multiple law enforcement officers stood along the walls, more than are usually seen in a courtroom. 4 of them wore camouflage fatigues and SWAT gear, reports KUER, local station. Talked about the fight to ban the cameras and so on, the fight over the shackles. And the only issue that Judge Graff ruled on from the bench was clarifying his previous gag order, which restricts people involved in the case from making public statements outside the courtroom. They write, while roughly 3,000 people witnessed the killing of Charlie Kirk, Judge Graff said the only lay people under that gag are witnesses whom the prosecution or defense believes they will call to testify. And so that should excuse most of the people who witnessed Charlie's assassination, though not all. And only they know, only the ones who have been contacted by law enforcement as potential witnesses in the case. You know, if I had been interviewed by law enforcement at this point, whether they said you're going to be a witness or not, if I had been interviewed by them, I would understand myself as under the gag order. And that's to preserve the integrity of the trial. It really doesn't do the prosecution any good to have their witnesses out there talking. I mean, we've seen this. I'm not accusing anybody of having done this, but we've seen this in earlier cases, including OJ, where a critical witness who was going to be able to testify to seeing OJ drive away from Bundy, where Nicole Brown Simpson was murdered. She testified. She was ready to testify to seeing him drive away from the scene of the crime, had sold her story to the media between the crime and the date of trial. And she was rendered utterly useless to the prosecutor. She just looked like she's in it for money. And so the gag order for people who may actually be witnesses at trial does make some sense if you want to protect both the prosecution's right to a fair trial, although the right to a fair trial speaks chiefly to the defense, and to the defendant's right to a fair trial. So if you've been interviewed by law enforcement or have reason to believe you're going to be called to trial, you really shouldn't be speaking to the media, which would encompass some public names who are now in the national debate, who are also under pressure to speak out, but know something in some cases that the rest of us don't know and are not free to fully talk about the events of that day. Please keep that in mind as you assess what's happening in this case. Look, Tyler Robinson did this. It seems very clear to me. My only hope is that I can be there in the room when they flip the switch and take his life. I want him dead. I want the death penalty handed down against him and anyone who helped him. And I will be gleeful on the day it is carried out. I honestly don't know how that squares with my Catholic faith, to be honest. We're not real pro the state killing people or humans taking other humans' lives, whether it's in the womb or in the course of a crime. But we are pro-justice. And the Bible does say an eye for an eye. And there is no deterrence. I'm sorry, the deterrence, I do believe, requires the death penalty in the most heinous of cases. And I do believe it should be reserved for the most heinous of cases. And this is that. This is that. Charlie was shot down in the prime of his life. He had so much yet to offer. He was a loving father of 2. He and Erica adored one another, lived for one another. They had so much yet to do. She wanted 4 children. So did he. He desperately wanted 4 kids. They have 2 and will never have another. Everything he's been cheated out of, everything those children were cheated out of, every happiness Erica has been cheated out of, everything the world, the country, a future president, we all believe that we've been cheated out of, he deserves to be put to death when he's convicted of this crime, which in my strong legal opinion, he should be. So that's where I am today, being reminded of the depravity of this so-called man. An evil being. I don't want to use the word person. I don't understand this person. I don't understand the guy who shot up the Ascension school in Minneapolis, who was drawing pictures of demons and looked to me to have been possessed by one. I don't understand them. I just want them gone. I don't think the earth suffers when they're eliminated. I want it done legally. Don't get me wrong. I certainly don't want to see him assassinated in prison. I'm fine if that happens to Brian Kohlberger for what it's worth. I don't know. This is my moral code. Is it fucked up? How do you feel about it? Do you share it? Like, I'll pray for forgiveness if forgiveness is in order. But that's where I am today, reminded of the awfulness of what happened. Ever read the label on a typical bag of chips? It's often a science experiment of seed oils, MSG, artificial dyes, and mystery ingredients. Masa is part of the growing movement to bring back real food. Masa chips contain just 3 ingredients: organic corn, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. Not only do these chips avoid the bad stuff, they also taste delicious too. Snacking on Masa chips is nothing like eating regular chips. With Masa, you feel satisfied, light, and energetic with no crash and no bloat. And if you love Masa, then you will love Vandy Crisps. Vandy, which is Masa's sister company, makes the most delicious 3-ingredient potato chips too. Ready to give Masa or Vandy a try? Use code MK for 25% off your first order at masachips.com or vandycrisps.com, or simply click the link in the video description or scan the QR code to claim this delicious offer. Don't feel like ordering online? Masa and Vandy are now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket. Stop by and pick a couple of bags up before they're all gone. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. This just broke moments ago. The Democrats on the House Oversight Committee have released photos from Jeffrey Epstein's estate. We're getting dribs and drabs of this, and we had some pictures already, and here's some. There are some that show Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, Steve Bannon, Bill Gates, and others. None of the released images depicts any sexual misconduct. None is believed to depict underage girls. It was not immediately clear when or where they were taken or by whom. Okay, here's one. This image, I haven't seen it, I'm seeing it with you for the first time, shows what appears to be a bowl of novelty condoms and a caricature of Trump's face. The bowl has a sign that reads Trump condom $4.50. Each condom bears an image of Trump's face with the text, "I'm huge." I have no idea what the context of this is. It's just like being dropped out, like, I guess, Trump and condoms. So it's interesting to the Dems. Another shows Trump with 6 women wearing Hawaiian leis whose faces have been redacted by the committee. Okay, no one's shocked to see Donald Trump with attractive young women. It's kind of been something he's done his whole life. Others include Steve Bannon and Epstein taking a photograph in a mirror. This, too, is not a surprise. Steve Bannon and Jeffrey Epstein were a lot closer than we knew. This show disclosed that a month ago, where we talked about the tapes we had heard in which Epstein was being coached by Melissa Rumler, the former Obama White House counsel, and Steve Bannon, and how to handle his growing reputational and legal problems post the Miami Herald expose of him in 2018. Let's see. Bill Clinton with Epstein and Maxwell and another couple. Tech billionaire Bill Gates with the former Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew's like the Waldo of the Jeffrey Epstein world. Former Harvard president Larry Summers and lawyer Alan Dershowitz also appearing in pictures from the estate. Of course, we know that Alan represented Epstein, getting him that sweetheart deal. Last but not least, House Democrat Oversight tweet on the photos released. Breaking: Oversight Dems received 95,000 new photos from Epstein's estate. These disturbing images raise even more questions about Epstein and his relationships with some of the most powerful men in the world. Time to end this White House cover-up. Release the files. So what's your take on where we stand now on what's been released on Epstein, what's gonna be released, and even that law that Trump signed commanding the release has enough exceptions in it, Dave, to drive a U-Haul truck through it?
Well, look, it's one of these things where it's just on the face of it, it's too absurd. Like, you just can't sell. Look, I mean, they're saying like that the files have to be redacted for national security reasons. Mike Johnson is saying that it would threaten the entire political order if it was released. This is before they voted. He lost the vote and it was voted to release. Like, what? Someone's got to explain that. And you know, to the point that you were making before, one of the major things about, say, like the story about Moderna covering up that Alex Berenson broke about Moderna covering up one of the dead kids in their trials.
Yes.
The other 10 that died, which was separate from that one, is that we all sit here and go, You lied through your teeth to us. You censored us when we tried to tell the truth, and no one's going to be held responsible for this. Similar thing in the Jeffrey Epstein thing. Very similar thing, by the way, which just kind of seems to go unnoticed, that several months back, the director of national intelligence in what, I know there's a lot of crazy things that go on these days, but this seemed like a pretty big deal to me, Megyn.
Buckle in.
Pretty big deal that the director of national intelligence accused the former president, Barack Obama, of committing treason, says she has the proof, and she's sending it over to the Justice Department. And when's that indictment coming? We all know it's not happening. We all know no one's getting held responsible for Russiagate or any of that. I mean, even like,
not at all.
You know, even the Comey case, which they totally seem to have mishandled, that he's not going to face any justice over all the crimes he committed. John Bolton may be actually caught with mishandling some classified information, but that's separate from the major crimes that have been committed.
Cares? But no one cares about John Bolton.
Right. It's just not like, are we ever, like, essentially when your whole central political promise was to drain the swamp, like, this is, you know, I've just never seen anything like this, like where Donald Trump had so much momentum a year ago and seems to have squandered all of it at this point. And now we're worried about like the Dems charging back in with an even more radical socialist agenda. And so anyway, I guess, you know, I guess like looking at these pictures, do they really reveal anything that we didn't kind of already know? Something really creepy was going on there. Donald Trump, look, a lot of people, myself included, have a soft spot for Donald Trump because he came along as a wrecking ball. He came along as a giant middle finger to the DC elite who had done nothing short of destroy the United States of America. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. They presided, over the United States of America, the strongest, most powerful, most economically advanced country in the history of humankind. And they've left us with $38 trillion in debt, 7 wars with just disastrous results, nothing but millions of people slaughtered, a debased currency, you know, just like so much awful. And so he was the middle finger to them. But if we're really being honest with ourselves here, Donald Trump was always a seedy guy. And like, you know, he's cheating on his pregnant wife with porn stars, and he's on record. Well, there's already a tape of him out there.
Allegedly, reportedly.
Yeah, sure. Fine. Sorry, you're the lawyer. You have to say, you're the reporter and the lawyer. I'm a comedian. I get to just talk. But like, you know, at the same time, there's a videotape of him talking about how Jeffrey Epstein loves the women and he loves them really young. And also, there were just, with guys, as you know, Megyn, right? Like, with guys of that age, they did come up in a different time where, like, there was just a different attitude about very young girls. It's an uncomfortable topic because, like, in my generation, we're not like that. But, you know, I did grow up with songs like, you know, like there's that song Into the Night, which, by the way, is a great song. The first lyric of it is, she's just 15 years old, you know? And then the whole song.
Who sings that?
I can't remember the name, but it's called Into the Night.
Oh, wait, yes. I know the one.
Really
I know it
song.
now that you sing that. Yeah.
But like the whole, there was just a different dynamic there.
16.
Maybe
Steve
16.
Krakauer
Sorry.
says 16, FYI.
Okay, that is much better than 15. I mean, not that it's that much better, but every year does make it better at that age. But okay, so.
Oh, be careful. The internet's going to call you a pedophile defender.
No. I'm not saying 16 is okay. I'm saying 15 is much worse, and 14 is much worse.
No one ever has.
Yeah.
For the record,
yes.
No one on this set has said that either.
No, right. I mean, but I'm just saying, like, they're actually, like, these guys come from a different time with a different attitude. We kind of all know there's something really disgusting going on here. But also beyond that, look, say, like you mentioned Alan Dershowitz. Like, I've seen Alan Dershowitz make the defense before that, hey, I was his lawyer. We have a legal system here, and everyone has the right to a defense attorney. Hey, I'm not going to argue with that, right? That is how our system of justice works. But then you find, like, then there's the comment about, like, he kept his underwear on when he was getting massaged. Then, just recently, we find out that, oh, you're actually working with Jeffrey Epstein to try to silence the Israel lobby from being published. Well, hey, that's not just being the guy's lawyer anymore. Now you're in a position where you're working with a guy who you know what he's doing, and you're still choosing to work with him to try to do damage control on a story that's bad for who?
I missed that, Dave.
Israel.
What year was that? What year did that happen?
I'd have to double check what the year was, but I know that they literally.
The only reason I ask is Alan has said in his defense that he defended Jeffrey Epstein back in 2008 when he thought it was a much more limited field of crimes, and that he does have a policy of not defending like serial child abusers or sex abusers, and that his position is that he didn't know of that piece of Jeffrey Epstein back then. Forgive me if I haven't articulated it exactly
maybe,
right.
okay,
but I
so
remember
maybe
him
he
saying
may
this.
be able, because I'm just thinking of when the Israel lobby came out. I'd have to, that would have been like, I mean, it was after the war in Iraq, so it was in the 21st century. Maybe he has a defense there.
Steve is telling me he said it happened in 2006, which would track.
Okay, so that would put it right before that. Okay, fine. So I'll retract that. But still, it does at least indicate that, like, it was a little bit more than just you being his lawyer here. So, okay, fine. So that wasn't before.
Well, we've seen Israel is the great uniter for certain people. And it's like all that matters in their interpretation of whether you're a good person or not is how you feel about Israel. That's like
100%.
It's kind of crazy.
Well, 100%. I mean, I've certainly found that, like myself, with a lot of these guys who, like, I was completely opposed to lockdowns and the vaccine mandates. I was completely opposed to U.S. supporting the war in Ukraine. I was completely opposed to Joe Biden's open immigration. I'm opposed to big government. I believe in fiscal sanity. These guys all love that stuff. But it doesn't matter. They think I'm the devil because I'm critical of Israel and the U.S. relationship to Israel. And this, by the way, is John Mearsheimer and Waltz's whole point, is that this is the Israel lobby. Like, the Israel lobby isn't just AIPAC. The Israel lobby is Barry Weiss and Ben Shapiro and Alan Dershowitz. It's very obvious. It's their number one issue that animates them the most. You are evil if you're not on the same page with them as far as that's concerned. Ben Shapiro will, for all of his talk, he'll sit down with a progressive who believes is pro-choice and believes in transing the kids or whatever. Maybe he'll even debate them. He's not sitting down with me. I'm beyond the pale. So, like, it's just like, it's obvious to everyone at this point. And I think all those guys, I don't hate any of them. I think all those guys would be better suited to admit it. Just admit that this is the issue that animates you the most.
I think you're responding to the hatred you're feeling from them because you are an Israel critic. Like, they drop the anti-Semitic word. It's very offensive. It's not apt. So it's a bastardization of the term, which weakens it and winds up rendering it meaningless. Same as we saw the left do with racist and, anti whatever, bigot, transphobe, that kind of thing. Ben and I have sat down. He's never called me those words, but the Israel lobby, the loud Israel, pro-Israel people on Twitter were quick to call me an anti-Semite just for that Jeffrey Epstein comment. Like, literally, they it was like the pro-Israel coalition. I published it when it happened. Called me an anti-Semite and Charlie an anti-Semite at the time. It was crazy. Mark Levin and so on. Anyway, enough about Israel. I'm sick of talking about them.
Ever read the label on a typical bag of chips? It's often a science experiment of seed oils, MSG, artificial dyes, and mystery ingredients. Masa is part of the growing movement to bring back real food. Masa chips contain just 3 ingredients: organic corn, sea salt, and 100% grass-fed beef tallow. Not only do these chips avoid the bad stuff, they also taste delicious too. Snacking on Masa chips is nothing like eating regular chips. With Masa, you feel satisfied, light, and energetic with no crash and no bloat. And if you love Masa, then you will love Vandy Crisps. Vandy, which is Masa's sister company, makes the most delicious 3-ingredient potato chips too. Ready to give Masa or Vandy a try? Use code MK for 25% off your first order at masachips.com or vandycrisps.com, or simply click the link in the video description or scan the QR code to claim this delicious offer. Don't feel like ordering online? Masa and Vandy are now available nationwide at your local Sprouts supermarket. Stop by and pick a couple of bags up before they're all gone.
Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. This is just a crazy news day. I was saying to Doug that the AM update felt like an episode of Dateline. There was so much death and destruction in it, and all for different and equally disturbing reasons. There is a manhunt underway right now in Rhode Island, and frankly, it has to be beyond Rhode Island because nobody knows where the killer is. After a gunman killed 2 and wounded 9 while students were in a final exam review at Brown University Saturday afternoon. Police on Sunday detaining, I think it was began on Saturday into Sunday, a 24-year-old person of interest. That was Kash Patel's term in his tweet. But as we told you in this morning's AM update, authorities announced in a hastily arranged press conference late last night, it was after 11, that he was to be released because, quote, evidence now points in a different direction. They were making clear it's not him. They were making clear they had the wrong guy. Officials are now asking anyone who has video of the shooting or the shooter to hand it over, and saying that they are still relying on the single, we're showing it now, video previously released of the suspected gunman. For the listening audience, it's a man, medium-sized build, all dark clothing, turning a corner on what appears to be a little campus block with a hat on, walking fairly briskly, not suspiciously briskly, and then heading out of screen. There's really nothing about him of note other than I'd say he's probably got a little bit more weight, like heft to his body than your average, like slender 19-year-old. And so I have no idea how old he is. I'm just saying that's the average age of like your college student. And I don't know whether he is a college student. Nobody does. Now, despite the fact that a mass murderer is still on the loose, no additional shelter-in-place order has been issued, nor are the Providence authorities particularly bothered by the fact that they lifted the shelter-in-place order while the shooter was clearly still a threat because they did not get the right person of interest in custody. Here's the Democrat mayor, Brett Smiley, last night.
We want to inform the community that that individual will shortly be released from Providence Police. We know that this is likely to cause fresh anxiety for our community. Ever since the initial call, now a day and a half ago,
you think?
We have not received any credible or specific threats to the Providence community. And so the status of safety in our community remains unchanged. And we believe that you remain safe in our community.
Okay. He was actually defending himself last night. A reporter asked him, what, like the shelter in place was lifted. That's not good. You didn't actually have the guy. And he was like, well, it was the proper thing to do. And I know that because there have been no additional shootings since Saturday. Oh, okay. Great. Good to know. That's like when John Allen Muhammad and Lee Boyd Malvo, the DC snipers, were still on the loose. No, I know you're safe because there have been no additional shootings since the one on Saturday at the Home Depot. Okay, tell that to the dozens of people who were yet to be shot as they went on a reign of terror. What kind of a boneheaded statement is that? To me, that is a politician who's worried about one thing, his ass, his lily white ass, which none of us cares about. No one. Be honest. Just own it. Just say it. In retrospect, that it was too soon. And if I were that mayor, frankly, I'd be like, we fucked up. We trusted the FBI. That's what I'd be saying. I mean, that's how these things typically unfold. And the FBI is going to say whatever it's going to say. But why is he pretending it was all fine and good? Look, part of my anger is I'm just mad at the news cycle. I'm mad that these kids are dead trying to study for their final exams. This sweet young vice president of the college Republicans, Emma, who had everything going for her, reportedly shot in the classroom. Well, not reportedly, she was shot dead in the classroom. She's one of the two who were killed. And there are questions about whether she was a target. There's zero evidence so far that this is politically motivated, other than her. Ella Cook is her name, I'm sorry, other than the fact that she was vice president of the college Republicans, but zero evidence to show that the shooter knew that. The other young man who was killed, I believe, was an immigrant from Uzbekistan. And we've seen pictures of him, for what it's worth. He's brown-skinned. Like, that's not, it doesn't line up. Nothing lines up, to a political motivation right now. Just wait and see. All of that will come out. I believe eventually they'll get the person and we'll see. But my point is simply, I'm being harsh on the authorities because I'm pissed off about the shooters. And this guy's still at large. Amazingly, he's still at large. And look, we're in the Northeast. We're in New England. I don't know where this guy is, and clearly neither do the authorities. Here to react to all of it and more is Emily Jashinsky. She's host of After Party with Emily Jashinsky on the MK Media Podcast Network, which, by the way, I just got the numbers because they update me since it is the MK Media Podcast, and she's crushing it. Emily's doing so well. Her podcast only goes twice a week, but people are tuning in record numbers on the YouTube when it airs live at 10 p.m. You can check it out. And also as a podcast. So please check out what everybody's loving and tune in yourself. She's also now the host of the MK Wrap-Up Show that airs after this show does on Sirius XM Channel 111. Okay, that starts at 2 p.m. Eastern right after our show finishes. Emily, welcome back. Great to have you.
Thanks for having me, Megyn.
What a day. So I'm sorry, but Keystone Cops comes to mind when you look at what happened at Brown University over the past 36 hours. They apparently, reportedly, they actually first said that there was somebody, a person of interest or being detained or examined who was some Asian guy who had nothing to do with it. Then there was this report on Cash's X feed saying, thanks to that the local authorities had given him a tip about somebody staying in a hotel, that they ran it through some sort of like cellular data analysis unit that they have at the FBI. And that led them to this guy whose name we're not going to be reporting because he's innocent, according to the Providence locals. They didn't use that word, but they made clear they've moved past this guy now, moved on from him. And his name was all over the internet. No, the authorities didn't say it, but it was everywhere. It didn't take long. So clearly they were leaking it. First, the wrong picture was being circulated by the media all over X of the guy who was the person of interest. Then they took that guy's picture down, and the proper picture went up with the person of interest who was being questioned by authorities, but he was not, as it turns out, the guy at all. So now 2 guys have been besmirched as potential mass shooters wrongly. Only one of which I guess we can blame on the FBI and the local authorities. We'll hear what the FBI has to say about that. The FBI also had a big win. It stopped a terror attack in California, which we can talk about in a minute. But look, this one's not great. And then you have the local mayor trying to tell people, you're fine. You're fine. This is not a pick yourself up, dust yourself off. You're tough. You can do it, sweetheart. Get right back out. What the fuck? A serial killer is on the loose after shooting a dozen people. The response is not appropriate.
And there's sort of echoes of what Luigi Mangione did last year, where you have someone coming up, shooting folks and then walking away. Presumably this campus is blanketed with CCTV. And so that makes it, I think, Megyn, even more unbelievable that the FBI and local authorities projected such confidence in their detainment of a suspect. You know, you can detain a suspect and not announce it. You can detain a suspect and announce it in a different way. The way I interpreted the announcements were that they felt pretty good about it. And so I would be furious in Providence, if my child were at Brown, if I lived in the area, I would just be beside myself with anger because I think they projected way, way, way too much security into the area. And on top of that, I mean, again, this is a campus. There's CCTV absolutely everywhere. So I don't understand how you feel good. I mean,
Well, not on this building.
Right.
That's what they're saying, that this was an old building and it didn't have cameras.
And I would imagine either way, going in and out of that area, that would be my understanding of a campus, is that even if the building doesn't have it, you should be able to figure out whether a person of interest is a serious person of interest, the type that you might announce to the public, or keep it, still under wraps to some extent, because you should be able to connect the dots 2 and 2, all of that type of stuff. It seems like they jumped the gun seriously. And I mean, on top of this, I think, unfortunately, there's an effort to get Kash Patel for political reasons inside of the FBI right now. I do think, unfortunately, this is also going to raise political questions for Kash Patel because it looks like another rush. I don't know if that's the case yet, but it does really look like that.
Well, people are pointing out that after Charlie was killed, they said that they had a person of interest in custody. It was that old guy who was very sussy, but he wasn't connected to the shooting as far as we know. And so they had announced that and people were kind of like that guy, like the guy who was like, I have the right to remain silent. I have the right to remain silent. It was very strange that like you kind of saw him as a potential accomplice maybe at that moment, but it didn't track as the actual shooter. And then they later kind of had to say, okay, didn't get that right. And then, Cash was saying, look, we're trying to be very transparent. It's not great to have another one of those. And now how much time has been lost in tracking the real killer because they were very focused on this guy. And listen, I get it. If this guy was sitting in the hotel room with what appeared to be the two same guns that the shooting was committed with, which is what the early reports were, including one with a laser sight on it, which they described as unique, but that surprises me because I haven't spent a ton of time at the shooting range, but I've spent a fair amount of time there, and that doesn't seem that unique to me. But in any event, they must have had enough evidence from that cell tower triangulation team that they thought this guy was it. I mean, not for nothing, but that's the same team that they used to get the name of the January 6th pipe bomber, which I don't know if that should shore up their attempts in this case or should undermine faith in the January 6th case, but it is the same unit. There are a lot of politicians that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas, but Birch Gold thinks, as a smart planner, you deserve silver. That's why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold will send you an ounce of silver, which is up over 60% this year. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. That's why you should consider Birch Gold. With the rate cuts from the Fed in 2026, the dollar could be worth less. And what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Consider letting Birch Gold Group help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And for every $5,000 you buy, you will get an ounce of silver for you or your kids. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text MK to 989898 because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Message and data rates may apply. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes. We were talking about the scourge of drug addiction and mental illness, which often go hand in hand, in this young man who's now been accused of killing Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle, his own parents. And updating a detail that I told you about his addiction. The Daily Mail report said that as of 2016, Nick had gone to rehab 18 times, which means he was, I think, 22 in 2016. And that means that in 7 years, he went to rehab 18 times. 7 years. It's more than three. I can't do the math. Don't make me do the math. It's about 3 times a year. 2 times a year plus. And there's more here from the yoga instructor. It's a very interesting article in the Daily Mail. The headline is Daily Mail exclusive troubled truth about little Nicky. That's what she called him in her book. And she writes, the piece writes the following about Rob and the son. He had clashes with his family throughout the years, as documented in the film they did together, which portrays a young man who resents the way his father and mother are dealing with his addiction. They force him to spend time in rehab, with their interactions a reflection of how Rob, Michelle, and Nick were with each other, the family said at the time. Evidencing the years of clashes the parents had with their son, it ends with an apology from the dad for the occasionally unsympathetic way he treated his son. Rob Reiner said in an interview afterward that he owed and gave this apology to his son in real life. But Nick's unpredictability and even aggression toward his family seemingly continued. And here's a little bit more from the actual, we played you a clip from the movie played by actors, but here's the actual Nick on camera in an interview with AOL promoting this movie we're discussing, Being Charlie in 2016, talking about his relationship with Rob. SOT 11.
It really clicked for me because we didn't bond a lot as a kid. Like, he really liked baseball, I liked basketball, and he could watch that with my brother, but baseball. But I just, when I saw him do that, and it was something that I'm interested in, I was like, wow, like, he really knows a lot, and like, it made me feel closer to him and be like, yeah.
You're like, wow, my dad's Rob Reiner.
I never had thought about it, and then...
Yeah, it didn't cross your mind, right?
Never.
Here's a little bit more. This is SOT 12A from the Paul Mercurio podcast, 2 chairs and a microphone. Again, same thing, 2016.
We both learned what each other went through during that time, but really the thing I took away from it was I got to see him in his element, sort of directing and doing all these things. And when I said that in the past, people would be like, well, weren't you on movie sets before?
Yeah,
but it's different because it's something I wrote, it's my dad, and it's something that we're collaborating on. And I saw he has sometimes a hard time expressing himself through just conversation, but through his efforts.
What do you mean by that? Because it seems like he's very expressive through conversation.
Well, we're on a show right now, but
oh, really?
No, but
Yeah,
he's
pretty quiet.
He's quieter, but he listens. He's a great dad, and like I just mean that like he's best explaining himself when he's in his element, making a movie, showing how much he cares through that.
There's a lot in there, Emily. You know, you never know what goes on behind closed doors and how people are, and you have a son there frustrated at not being able to effectively communicate with his own father for whatever reason, that his father couldn't express himself in the way the kid needed. I'm not blaming Rob Reiner. We're just taking a look at the relationship here, given what's happened. And so while you might think he's an expressive guy and actually kind of gifted at expressing himself, given the movies, he certainly didn't seem to have a tough time expressing himself politically. It's different with your kid, and certainly different with a kid who is, in a way, special needs.
And it also, I think, represents what we all know, which is that you can't throw money at a problem like that, because to go to rehab that many times, that's an extraordinary financial expense for his son. And obviously Rob Reiner had lots and lots of money. The family had lots and lots of money. And so it doesn't make life, it may make life easier in some ways, but it doesn't necessarily make life better. And so when you think about a family here who was trying everything over the course of a decade plus to help their son, including, by the way, doing the emotionally taxing work of directing his film that he wrote about your relationship. I mean, I cannot possibly fathom how difficult it was to do that. In some ways, obviously, they're saying it was rewarding, but that's, days and days spent in the muck of your emotional trauma, your family's suffering, your failings and successes as a parent and a child. I mean, you're putting a lot of effort into dealing with this relationship, and for it to end so tragically and violently is very upsetting.
And it sounds like the parents did not only the rehab thing 18 times in 7 years, but also tough love, because this Daily Mail piece points out that he told People magazine in 2016, I don't know if my math is correct, it's almost 26, and he was 32. He is 32. So 10 years ago, he would have been 22, and 15 to 22 is 7 years. That's where I got. So my math is right, give or take a few months. He told People magazine in 2016, Nick, the son, that he wound up homeless. Okay, again, this is when he was 22. He said, I've been homeless in 3 states because I've repeatedly refused treatment. But he says, I've since been on the mend. I was homeless in Maine. I was homeless in New Jersey. I was homeless in Texas. I spent nights on the street. I spent weeks on the street. It was not fun. If I wanted to do it my way and not go to the programs they were suggesting, then I had to be homeless. In other words, they did tough love. That's what he's saying here, that the parents said, we are not going to fund your life, your apartments, your landlord, your bills until you get help. And honestly, we've been through this in my own family. I've talked before. Like, I've had somebody I really, really love dearly, severely addicted to prescription drugs. And you really do wrestle with, like, what do we do? Do we try to save them? Do we do hard love? And there was a divide in my family over. I mean, I've said it's my sister who's since passed. But, my brother and I were much more like, Mom, we have to do hard love. We have to let her hit rock bottom. And it's much different for the parent who, my mom did not want to allow that to happen to my sister. We had no money like the Reiners do, but I can relate to these struggles. And the person you love is in there. They're not dead, they're alive. They're just like, there's several layers between you and them in like this weird exterior that doesn't represent the true them. And you get angry at these drugs and you blame the drugs. And it's like, you so desperately want the drug addiction to go away, because then the person will come out again. Like, it's like an invasion of the body snatcher, you know, and like you want the force to be gone so that your relative is back, present again. And you will throw any amount of money, tough love, and what feels like cruelty, whatever at it to get to the end result. But then when it doesn't come, and in this case, it seems like it was constant relapse, you get to the point that they got to, according to that quote we read from TMZ, with a mother saying, "We are at our wits' end and we do not know what to do."
And to the point that you mentioned, it looks like the picture that's emerging is that over the years, they have tried both tough love and abundant love. I mean, everything from saying, you know, we have to at some point cut him off so that he knows that you can hit rock bottom, as opposed to what everybody who's dealt with this experiences, where when you do the abundant love approach, sometimes there are limits to that too, but they did it both ways, clearly. That's what we're seeing. And you mentioned this earlier, but what we're learning from this crime scene obviously is a stabbing situation. The report horrifically is a throat slitting situation, and that is, to the point you made, a crime of passion. And so when we're thinking about a person being inside, the real person being inside, I mean, what it has to take to do that to your own parents, reportedly after a heated argument at a party, that is sociopathic. I mean, that's really the only way to look at it, which means that what they were dealing with is unimaginable, and there's no ration. There's no reason, there's nothing you can do in a situation like that that'll definitely work. You just have to keep trying, and the clock ran out on them, unfortunately.
There are a lot of politicians that should be getting coal in their stocking for Christmas, but Birch Gold thinks, as a smart planner, you deserve silver. That's why for every $5,000 you purchase between now and December 22nd, Birch Gold will send you an ounce of silver, which is up over 60% this year. See, smart people diversify and have a hedge. That's why you should consider Birch Gold. With the rate cuts from the Fed in 2026, the dollar could be worth less. And what happens if the AI bubble bursts? Consider letting Birch Gold Group help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And for every $5,000 you buy, you will get an ounce of silver for you or your kids. Just text MK to the number 989898 to claim your eligibility for this offer. Again, text MK to 989898 because Birch Gold's free silver with qualifying purchase promotion ends on December 22nd. Message and data rates may apply. And the sister, if you see the pictures of Romy, the sister, I guarantee you she knew. And again, reportedly, she was the one who called the cops and said, check out Nick. But you see these pictures of her, and it's just a couple snapshots. But in each one, there's the other brother. I think his name is Jay. He's all smiles. He seems like a genuinely happy person. He projects joy in just his facial expression and energy. In all the pictures of Romy, Jake. In all the pictures of Romy, you can see, at least I think I see in the eyes like a concern, like a pain. There's the absence of a joy that you see in the other brother's face. And then you see Nick, who looks deeply disturbed in every photo. Mm-hmm. He looks progressively disturbed, progressively more like a criminal, someone who doesn't appear to be taking care of himself, somebody who's not well-groomed, somebody who has got like a madness in his eyes. I realize this is 2020 hindsight, so forgive the armchair analysis, but it's what I see. And this yoga instructor, again, who taught with the family for a decade, wrote a book about Nick, Little Nicky. She described the Reiner parents as passionate, hands-on parents and loving. She said Michelle was a New Yorker living in California. She was really mindful, trying to raise her kids out of the pressures of LA and Hollywood. It was challenging and full-time. She pointed out that the family was Jewish. They were likely preparing for a family get-together to celebrate the first night of Hanukkah on Sunday before they were killed. She said that the discord she witnessed between Nick and his family, quote, was a product of their fame, quoting from the Daily Mail piece. This is how they quoted her. I think it's really challenging for children of Hollywood stars to have a clear sense of reality. It's really not easy, but it's not an excuse, she said. This is still her. The sense of neglect can breed its own delusion in kids. So she does say that they're hands-on parents and loving, but she also speaks of a sense of neglect breeding a delusion in Hollywood kids and saying that there was a discord as a product of his fame. Again, saying it's not an excuse for what happened, but giving us an insight as to somebody who knew the family well about what one of the issues was. Now, of course, he has 3 other children who are fine, who are fine. It's this one who did this dastardly deed. But it does make you wonder, like, I don't know, you've got a kid who's 15, he's severely addicted. Do you leave Hollywood? Do you give up your directing career? Do you devote your full time to this teenager, this child who you've brought into the world, who is legally and morally your responsibility? Like, do you give up your career directing movies and being the toast of the town to just focus full time on that child and the others who you still have in your home? I don't know. Here's Rob Reiner kind of defending the notion that his son Nick was privileged on that same Paul Mercurio podcast in 2016. SOT 12.
It's not hard to reveal that stuff. It's only hard to reveal that stuff to then get told you're a spoiled white rich kid, and it's like, okay, maybe all these things.
Well, who would say that to you? Not your dad.
No, but the world, Listen, I had to talk to him about this. Listen, I know what it's like to be the son of, and to have people assume certain things about you, and it's very, very difficult.
Well, how did you handle that?
Well, I mean,
obviously you didn't go to drugs, but you must have had those issues. Your father's an icon.
In the 60s, there was plenty of drugs around.
Yeah.
But you just have to know what you do, and that you have to block out all that extraneous noise. And it's hard for him because this is the first time. He's, all of a sudden, there's a lot of attention. People are talking.
Yeah.
And, he has the double whammy. He's got me and he got his grandfather, and they're going to say whatever the heck they want. But they don't know. They don't know what he's experienced. They don't know what he's gone through.
Yeah.
They don't know why he's done what he does. And, and it's pretty dumb, pretty ignorant of people to say just because you're born and you have money and that doesn't mean anything.
I don't know, Emily. What do you make of all that?
I mean, in all of the clips that you've played of them on this press tour together, the son looks deeply uncomfortable, which is understandable. Nick looks deeply, deeply uncomfortable. And that line from apparently the family yoga instructor in the Daily Mail about struggling to cope with fame. I mean, I was doing the math. He would have been born in the early 90s, probably like 1993. So honestly, that's arguably the height of Rob Reiner's power and fame. And so he's born into that. Which is just that time to be a toddler, then to be a teenager. I mean, it had to have been enormously difficult. And I think that's what they're kind of getting at is that, people look at somebody in that position as privileged and spoiled and all of that, which they are, but that brings with it its own special bag of suffering and difficulties and all of that. And when I saw that first clip that we played from this press tour, he mentioned when the interviewer said, "Your dad's Rob Reiner," sort of like, isn't it amazing? You got to learn that your dad is Rob Reiner. He did not seem to find it nearly as amusing as the interviewer kind of set him up to express. It looked like he looks like he was struggling with a lot of resentment. And again, it's armchair quarterbacking, but I feel like it's just jumping off of the screen in those interviews, sadly.
It reminded me so much of, it was late last week. You know how you scroll your phone in the morning? I know we're not supposed to, Gary Brecka, but I did it. And this video was fed to me on my Instagram of Presley Gerber, the beautiful son of Cindy Crawford and Randy Gerber. He's a businessman and came up with George Clooney with Casamigos Tequila. And they've got more money than God. And very good genes, thanks to Cindy. And they have 2 children, Kaya Gerber, who's a very successful model, and Presley Gerber, her brother, he's the older, who's also a model. And deeply troubled. We had seen him in the past, like, get a facial tattoo, which, by the way, is not visible in the video I'm about to show you. Maybe he's had it removed. Maybe that was BS. I don't know, but he had a facial tattoo, it looked like, for a while. And he has been in and out of rehab himself, and now is posting, I guess he's clean and sober at the moment, and he's posting something like Mental Health Mondays posts on his Instagram. And he too he's only 26 years old, very young. And I could not believe the level of issues that he espoused of his own in what's like an 8-minute video. We cut it way down just to give you a feel. Watch this, SOT 12B.
Long story short, where I'm at currently, 3 classes of medications, Oh no, 4. Blood pressure, opiate, benzo, antidepressant, Xanax when the panic attacks are really, really bad. The Valium, I take a little bit in the morning, or not, I don't know if it's a little or a lot. Antidepressant-wise, mirtazapine, and then I take prazosin, also used to treat night terrors and PTSD, and ketamine drips. I definitely use that more than I should. Sometimes it's not in a clinical setting.
In a way, he's a walking time bomb.
Presley says he is now 5 months alcohol-free and wants to wean off these drugs, but getting help from his doctors hasn't been easy.
So once you start taking them, if you don't take them, the quote-unquote withdrawal from certain medications.
That was a clip from Entertainment Tonight talking about how, he wants to get off of all of this, but he can't. That's what he talks about in that clip. Like, I don't even know how to begin to get off of all these. And he also talks about being in and out of rehab. I think he said 7 or 8 times, and he's only 26. I'm not blaming their fame and wealth. As I just pointed out, I had a sister who was an addict, and we had no money. So it's not, it's not about that. Like, some people do come into the world with a different body chemistry. I really do believe that can lead them down a dark path. Like, the truth is, my sister was never like super happy. I think she was more prone to this type of addiction. She was given her the drug as though it was not addictive. And so I just think she was more vulnerable to it. But so that can also be, I don't mean to say, oh, Cindy Crawford sucks and she shouldn't work. But I do also think that, like, no matter how big your life is, if your kid has got this issue, it's all hands on deck, full-time attention, or it doesn't go down a good path. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.